Yeah.
Bino.
Ah.
We're live. Moron. Moron.
Didn't you?
Now shush.
Your face.
So, hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Bunchcast. Today we're going to be talking about the statement on Stop Killing Games released by Video Games Europe. Now, let's get right into the meat of it, so I'll just start reading it right off the bat. So, they say, "We appreciate the passion for our community. However, the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable. We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. Private servers are not always a viable alternative option for players, as the protection we put in place to secure players' data, remove illegal content, and may combat unsafe community content would not exist and would leave rights holders liable. In addition, many titles are designed from the ground up to be online only. In effect, these proposals would curtail developer choice by making these video games prohibitively expensive to create. We welcome the opportunity to discuss our position with policymakers and those who have led the European Citizen Initiative in the coming months." So this is basically the European video games industry's more or less response. Not all of it, obviously, as some developers agree, some developers don't agree. It's going to be a bit of a mixed bag. Obviously, the idea of having them forcibly release their their server hosting tools or their source code is not something that the movement is about at all. And when it's not about making them release their source code, it's not about making them release their server hosting tools. It's not about games that are already set out to pasture as is. It's about basically doing something now for games that are going to go through this in the future so that there is some sort of sunset policy. It's about opening up a conversation, not about forcing studios to do something unlawful. It would be unlawful to force a studio to make them give away their source code. It would be unlawful to make them have to give up their server hosting tools. Those are proprietary. Though they developed that, we're not asking for that. The movement isn't about that. And this is important to have this conversation because as this movement continues to expand, many of the people who have signed up to participate in this movement in Europe don't know what this movement's about. They did it out of outrage, which they did it for bad reasons and for wrong reasons. And that's not really up for debate. That's just a matter of fact. And because they did that, there's now lots of misinformation and fragmentation within the movement. The movement has already begun to fracture. This is not really up for dispute. This is just happening. You can kind of see it in conversations that are happening online because people don't really know what the movement's about. They signed a petition for the idea, the lofty notion of stopping to kill games, right? Again, all and for good cause, but it was done for a bad reason. This reason was because of internet drama. That's the case and point of the whole thing. Most people who are signing it maybe knew, maybe did read, but most people who signed it now, they don't have the faintest clue what's happening. They don't know what's happening. And so they're going around asking for things and polluting the movement's steam by saying, we want the source code. We want the server hosting tools. Do not say that. We don't want those things. It's a simple request of, can we please get an offline mode so that we can continue to play these games when the servers are pulled down? For example, when Dune Awakening servers are pulled down, there is a plethora of single-player content within Dune Awakening, enough to get you about 70 hours of gameplay right now in that game. That's a pretty good game. 70 hours worth of content is very long, and that's not fully going into all the details of like all the little side things, but that's pretty good. If it takes 70 hours to complete all the main stuff and side like content, and then there's still some more, that's a very good runtime for a game. And so, of course, it should get an offline mode. That way, you can play it offline when, the servers are pulled down. That's a fair and reasonable request. What is an unreasonable request is asking a studio or a developer to release their bread and butter source code, which is literally their source code. It's how they make their games. It's their secret recipe for their sauce, for the restaurant, and then giving it to all their competitors. That's an unreasonable request. Having them forcibly release their server hosting tools is also tied to that. So nobody is literally asking for this. Nobody's asking for you to release your server hosting tools. Nobody's asking for you to release your source code. It's a simple request on a sunset policy about just making an offline mode. That's it.
There's an example. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alpine.
There's one addendum that I want to make. The prime example they should use in this movement, and I don't think they ever put it to light, is there is a game on Steam called Mega Man X Dive Offline. Mega Man X Dive was a online-only gacha or something. And when the servers went out, they sell the offline version, and you can even download the demo on Steam before buying the game. You get what I mean?
Mm.
So like, I think that's what they should use as the case example for like, okay, this is what the game was, this is how it's now, this is what we wish online games were, and stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also read about that example on a certain forum I won't name here.
Okay. I mean, the big thing is that there's a million compromises, right? Now, EA, Electronic Arts, did release the source code for Command & Conquer, and its Sage engine as well. They didn't have to do that, but they chose to. And that's nice of them to do it. And why did they do it? They're not using it anymore. That's fair. Should they be forced to do it? No. Of all the companies that did it of their own free volition, EA did it. Literally Satan. What did EA do when the MMOs Battleforge and Age of Reckoning is they released the server hosting tools? Did they have to do that? No, they did not. But they chose to. But they did require that you change the name of the projects, and they did. So now it's relating to Skylords Reborn, and then it's also called Return to Reckoning for the other one. And the reason why they had them do that was to alleviate that concern. There are solutions and compromises that can be made. Studios did that. More importantly, EA didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that. But they chose to. And that's commendable. That's commendable. Even though there are many things they do that are detestable, that is one thing they did that is commendable and worthy of recognition. But more specifically, the people who helped inside the studio encourage that, or the publisher encouraged that those choices be made, right? So that is a method. There are other solutions, compromises that can be made. There could be a new Night Dive Studios, a corporation set up for the sole purpose of profit, again, to host servers for these things within the industry, and they give royalties to other things. They would just run maintenance. They wouldn't add any new content, but they would just maintain old dead MMOs for a fraction of the cost by just running like a server that maybe can host like 2,500 people tops. Most of these games won't even get that number. Most will sit at like 300 to 400. If that.
If they had 2,000, some of them might still be alive. That's the funny part.
Yep. I mean, there's a myriad of solutions that can be done within the industry. Now, obviously, government involvement and having the government force companies to give the source code or the server hosting tools would be critically bad. But the movement isn't asking for that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what the movement's actually asking, I was actually just going to read directly from their FAQ.
Yep, which I can open up. Where was it again? I've got it open on the other page.
I was going to read, aren't you asking companies to support games forever? Isn't that unrealistic?
There, open that one. There you go. Okay, go ahead and read.
So, directly from them, they say, no, we are not asking that at all. We're in favor of publishers adding support for a game whenever they choose. What we are asking for is that they implement an end-of-life plan to modify or patch the game so that it can run on customer systems with no further support from the company being necessary. We agree that it is unrealistic to expect companies to support games indefinitely, and do not advocate for that in any way. Additionally, there are already real-world examples of publishers ending support for online-only games in a responsible way, such as Gran Turismo Sport, Knockout City, Mega Man X, Scrolls/Color's Bane, Duelist, to list the two that Kibbs mentioned, Skylords Reborn. Like, there's ways... All they're asking for ultimately is that a game that has forced, or that is always online, just have a way to play it offline. That is literally the crux of the entire thing.
Yep, so you can continue to play the game. Release an offline mode, and you can sell it too, right? Like, let's say Dune Awakening, or let's use a different example. Dune Awakening is maybe not the best example. Let's use a more standard MMO. Let's use World of Warcraft as an example. World of Warcraft makes an offline mode. It doesn't need multiplayer components. It can literally just have an offline mode. The reason why is because, well, if you actually look at World of Warcraft, and if you know anything about the game, is it an MMO? Yes. However, while the dungeons are all MMO and the PvP content and raids are all MMO, the questing and the crafting is actually single player. The vast majority of content in World of Warcraft, over, I believe, 60 to 70% of the game is actual in-game content approximation, and this is my rough in-head approximation, is single player. Because I remember when I played World of Warcraft, 90% of the time, what was I doing? Playing by myself, doing something by myself. Only by the late game did you ever end up doing anything in PvP or like in other things.
I can bring another example with an MMO, also competitor to WoW, is in Final Fantasy XIV. You basically, since the game is so far ahead right now and you need to play through the story as a player, you are even more incentivized to play alone. Right. And you can now play Old Dungeon, even the hard mode version of it, with basically NPC bots as your companions, as your basically party. So this is an even better example in my opinion, because you literally can play the game right now 95% single player. And only the current raids are basically, you are basically forced to be with other people.
Yes. Stone Age is also, you're being, okay, so we gotta nip this in the bud, because we have a moment of autism on display here, where he's definitely not, you're out of touch with what we're talking about. How can WoW have an offline mode? Laughing my ass off. Everything's on the server. Literally everything is on the server. Kibbs is talking out his ass. That's not what I'm talking about in the slightest, and you're not paying attention to the conversation. It has gone completely over your head. It's gone completely. So what I'm advocating for is for a release of a single player client, so that when the servers are shut down for these MMOs, that they can be played offline. Yes, the online multiplayer content will not function anymore, but we already know for a fact that you can have an offline mode, because you literally have fucking private servers. And other games have also done this already. We're not talking about if it's online to begin with. The whole point of the conversation is that it is online, and when the server is pulled down, because it has to do a handshake with an online server, your game, which all that 60 to 70 gigabytes of data, is now non-functional. Oh my god, he's just not listening. Okay, well, we're gonna move on past. He's just doubling down, talking to himself. All right.
Yeah.
Right into his little circle jerk. All right, so let's see. Hell Space Butler. Welcome to the stream, Space Butler. Yes, there will be people that aren't going to listen, apparently, as is very evident, because they don't understand what Stop Killing Games movement is advocating for. Case in point to Stone Age. I like how it took not only but 5 seconds to start the stream, and already we have the case in point of why I'm having the stream. So, the movement isn't about forcing server hosting tools to be released. The movement isn't about forcing studios to maintain servers. The movement isn't about making them release their source code. That's not what it's about. These games do have online handshakes that have to occur, but that 60 to 70 gigabytes of content like that you have, like, you can actually play offline. It just requires a handshake to occur to play the game. All they'd have to do is turn off that shake, and you could play the game offline. And turn off a few other things. Yes, certain things wouldn't function. When it tries to search for like a PvP thing, it won't find anything because there's no network to connect to. Where nobody's asking for that, right? We're talking about MMOs as a whole and how MMOs can be preserved going forward. This has already been established by other companies, with the one that literally Bino just talked about 5 seconds ago. Bino, you want to go ahead and remind Stone Age what you had mentioned? Because he certainly isn't listening. Or does Bino just waddle away? Little fat fuck. I hate Bino!
That's what he'd do.
he mentioned Mega Man.
Yes,
X,
it's
so
Mega Man X. Yeah, I was gonna have him do it
Yeah.
because he, was his subject.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry.
We can step in for him because he's literally waddled away like the fat little
Yeah.
fuck he is. But yeah, so literally Mega Man X already did this. They released a single player client side version, so that it's literally just single player. You have to pay to buy it, but you can play the entire game without its MMO functionality. It doesn't need it. Most MMOs, not all, cannot be applicable this way. There are some games that are going to be literally multiplayer only. These would include games like Overwatch, where, in order to, unless they had added this, I don't remember this being a thing, but unless they added bot modes or something like that, maybe they did, I don't remember. It's been ages since I played it. Some games are
there
literally
was
only
bots you could play with.
yeah, that some games are only literally PvP, right? But you could, in theory, still add a offline client mode where you can just walk around and look around maps. There are some games like this. PlanetSide 2 would be a great example of this such case. What happens when the server's offline? Well, there's nobody connected to it. It's not that the entire world is actually on a server. It's that you have that world on your game. You downloaded it. You just can't access it. You're locked out because it has to do a handshake with a cloud, with a server, to connect you to everybody else. J-Rod donates $5, says, Star Wars The Old Republic would probably be the most relevant game for this issue considering its age. You're absolutely correct, J-Rod.
Yeah.
It very much is.
Isn't that one of the MMOs that people always recommend, play the campaigns because they're fun, and then
Yes.
while it's still up? I was told that several times.
Stone Age, quit being cranky. Calm down. You're always cranky. You have old manisms. Your name is perfectly applicable. I swear to God. You've been here for ages.
What happened to the first 6?
You jump the
Stone
gun.
Age.
Quit jumping the gun, Stone Age. You've been here. You've been a chatfish. You've been a part of this community for fucking ages. Quit being old man. I know it's hard because you're stubborn. And you are stubborn. Okay? We both know you are. Don't lie. Don't fib. Don't be cranky. Don't get bent out of shape. Come on. Come on, big guy.
Welcome to the stream, Fincarn. You will be forgiven this time.
Fincarn, you're late.
Hello, Fincarn.
Very late.
He says, sorry, I'm late.
You missed the last several streams, but there's my fajita fish. You need to whip up some fajitas for Stone Age because he's cranky today, it seems. He's not listening to me. He's ignoring me.
I could go for a fajita.
It's fine if you disagree with me. I don't mind. But at least listen to what I'm saying. Am I saying that they have to have offline servers or release their server hosting tools? No. Am I saying that they have to support their game? No. Is the movement about that? No. The movement's actually in line with my opinion on this as well. Oh, he's such a cranky little guy. Look at him. It's okay, kid. I'm just gonna pick your little fish up and
so a
sit
lot
on
of the
his
stuff
desk.
people are claiming that it's for, the fact actually addresses, and usually says the extent, no, this isn't what we're asking.
Yes. The big thing is the reason why I'm doing this stream is because there are a lot of people that are not listening to what this movement is, and a lot of people that are joining this movement about Stop Killing Games, you're here for the wrong reasons. I'm going to say that right off the bat. And this is not to point fingers, but the person who started this was Scott Ross, right? He's the big YouTuber that started this, but he doesn't really want to be in charge of leading it. And that's a problem, because we need centralized leadership to get shit done.
Yeah.
The big thing is you not wanting to lead is a good thing. It means that you're probably going to make a great leader. Probably. Doesn't necessarily guarantee it, but you really need to. We need a centralized leader. Okay? And I don't want to do it either. And I get why. Nobody wants to do it. But we need centralization because this is already becoming an issue where I'm seeing a lot of people who are asking questions about the movement and then getting answers from people who don't know. Okay? Have I been wrong about certain things? Yes. Will I be wrong about certain things in the future? Yes. That's not up for debate. That's just human nature. All right? I'm not perfect. But the big thing here is that we need to centralize, and we need to make sure that we're not asking for retarded things that are not feasible. That we're not asking for them to support the game forever. We're not asking for them to maintain the servers. We're not asking for we're not asking for the moon. We're asking for a simple, small thing. This doesn't apply to games that are already out to pasture, right? There's nothing we can do about those. But what we can do
It also
going
doesn't
forward,
apply to full free-to-play games.
yes, what we can do going forward is something to games like this. Now, this is step one in video game preservation. Preservationist that I am, this is an iceberg issue. This is a tip of the iceberg. Like, this is an issue, yes, like with Gran Turismo Sport, Knockout City, Mega Man X Dive, the one that Bino mentioned. But the reality is that this is only, what's the word? A small thing. Like, we can do more. This is step one on a large journey, on a massive mountain. We're going on a mountain climbing expedition, Chatfish. Some of you may freeze up at the top and become little fishicles, all right?
Become food for the others.
Yeah,
IRL peak.
pretty much. Because what is this movement like? Stop Killing Games. It's just specifically about live service. What it represents to me as a video game preservationist is it represents step one, saving some games, right? What are other games that need to be preserved? Well, literally all the old games that are literally inaccessible today. Old console exclusives that are untenable to play anymore. Old movie license games that are out to pasture and are literally almost impossible to acquire without piracy. Which means, and why do I want other methods than piracy? Piracy is a method of preservation, but it's not a safe method. It exposes the user to potential viruses and other problems. I'm advocating for more safe methods to get and acquire games without having my users be at risk of getting horrific viruses or malware or other nasty things.
Yeah.
Don't worry. The CPU is running hotter because the game is working. Never mind the crypto in the back, you know.
Polymathy Donatendal says, instead of government forcing companies to release source codes, I'm not sure I would oppose tax credits for companies that release server tools based on costs over a designated time frame. I don't think they would allow that. I don't think they would allow. Governments ain't gonna give tax credits because the government doesn't give a shit about you or me or video games.
Fincan added something. The first issue is that whoever leads this has to be from the EU. Scott Ross lives in Poland. He has US citizenship, but he actually lives in Poland, and I think.
Did you just dox that man?
What? No, that's open information.
I'm gonna beat him. But yes, either way, it doesn't really matter if they need the leader of them. It's a global idea. It's more than just Europe. It's more than just Britain. It's more than just America. It's a global movement, and the idea is it should be about preserving all games everywhere, not just in Europe, but in the United States as a whole, because video games are a part of our culture and history. That's part of American history. I've been to the Smithsonian Museum, and in the Smithsonian Museum, there's a section dedicated to video games. The first RTS ever made is an American invention. What's in the Smithsonian Museum? A Sega Genesis, which is not really American, that's Japanese, but the game Dune 2 Battle for Arrakis, made by an American company, Westwood. It's an American point of pride. We created real-time strategy. It's the genre my people made. It's our contribution to video games.
Destroyed Korea.
Pretty much.
The impact of the RTS.
Gregor's
Go ahead.
Brought up a good point. The Poles dislike the EU. There might be a good base to start out with. Bringing me to thought, GOG, CD Projekt Red, which are already on that.
Yes, they actually have the preservation program where people can request and try to push older games being brought back. Also, Bino, you should read Gregor's donation.
Yes, I was going to just waiting for you to stop. Hey, Gregor's, thank you, my dude. You donate 15
pounds.
Thank you.
What do you mean,
Mart has convinced me, or I'm weak willied. Hashtag Helgen cosplay. Also, didn't RuneScape do this like half a decade ago? But the bigger game the bigger the game, the higher the cost of a sunset policy. Hashtag fit, hashtag Bino choice. Thank you, my dude. My choice is Nut game.
Can't. It's already going to an overhead.
Okay, then my choice is
Skirt
fund, yeah.
I hate Bino. And death to Bino. Who did what idea sucks? Grabs Blake, throws him out the window.
Play fucking.
And yes, chat. The reason why I say my people is because my people, as in my fellow Americans. It's part of our contribution to video gaming, right? Just like Helldivers 2 is Sweden's contribution to video gaming, you know? Just like, you know, Slavjank games like fucking Stalker is Ukraine's contribution to video gaming. We all, across the world, are contributing to this great masterpiece that is gaming culture. That's what we're doing. And we're each showing off something cool from our culture and our society that we want to share with you. Dune is an American science fiction series. We're showing it off. The reason why it's in the Smithsonian is it's a video game made by Americans about a book that was written by Americans, Frank Herbert specifically, and it's showing off our culture, and we're showing it off to you, and you show us your stuff, and we share. That's what gaming is. It's more than just a little bit. I mean, gaming goes back before video games, right? Gaming has been a thing that has bound us together through dice games in like antiquity and stuff of that nature, with little gambling and little bets here and there. Things that would pass the time on long voyages, like card games and the like, right? These games, or deck games, or whatever you would call those at the period, like these have existed through universally human times. These games, these exercises.
Yeah. What's
This is just an extension
Germany's
of that.
contribution to the video gaming?
Gothic. Anno.
I think Valpus has a
Basically-
specific idea.
Oh.
Basically, every World War II game.
Not necessarily true. You just became, you know, your contribution is antagonist.
Yes.
Which
yes.
every good game needs.
We are bad guy.
We are bad.
We are the bad guy.
Sorry, Sirha,
Hey,
but
Hans,
Helldivers
are we
2
the-
is
are
a
we the
Swedish
baddest?
contribution to gaming. Whether you
You
love
know
it or
what's
hate
funny?
it.
You know, it's funny. Blake was making fun of RTS, but I know the day War Thunder goes out of like service, he's going to like.
He's gonna just be a sad little plaka.
Yeah.
Frederick, that is Austria's contribution, actually.
Oh no.
Oh no. Your
Oh,
little
no.
southern brothers. Little southern-
Brazil.
Austrian-
contributed-
So-
Austrian painter,
When
man.
Kibbs said, "My fellow Americans," when are we getting Kibbs' presidential speech?
My fellow Catfishikins. You know, speaking like he never played any RTS, says Blake. Everybody's played an RTS. Whether you liked it or
Yes,
not.
Xenos
is not
played
a-
Hoy.
That's true. That is technically an RTS. It's a subgenre. Like, that's another thing. But yes, not to get too whittled down on that point of, you know, conversation. But video games are an extension of art and media, and they're worth preserving. Live service games is what this movement's dedicated to focusing on. But if this movement succeeds at its overarching goal, which is reaching a compromise and opening a dialogue, it's not about forcing the government to intervene. It's simply about starting a dialogue to start working on a solution to the problem, a compromise that can be set up. Yes, games that are already out to pasture, sadly, is nothing we can do about right now. That's a problem we can address later. That's something I've mentioned that we have already looked into solutions for today. Such solutions have been reached with Night Dive Studios, for instance. Night Dive Studios or Asper. Now, Asper's got a bit of a rough track record, but the big thing is that it's also one of those things where when you look at System Shock, right, or the games that Night Dive Studios have brought back from the grave, their whole name is about that, they've been resurrecting games. Or if you look at good old games, right? Star Trek Elite Force. I didn't even know Star Trek had video games, right? And as somebody who actually likes Star Trek, I was like, holy shit. There's a fucking Quake shooter set in Star Trek? Are you fucking what? Are you fucking... That's wild. And it's actually really good.
Elite Force was an interesting game.
And you can buy and play Elite Force 1 and 2 on GOG. They're playable. Yes, you might
was
need
a
to
2?
patch them all. Yeah, there's a sequel as well. There are 2.
Huh.
There's also the
Also,
RTS
the-
as well.
They addressed the live service question in the FAQ as well.
These are movie licensed games that were saved by GOG, by the way. That's why it's important that we are actually not a movie, it's a TV show kind of movie. But you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like we need people to be more interested in preserving games in honest and fair ways. Because the big thing is this is something that we as gamers and players and users must come to terms with. We need to talk with developers and come up with a compromise that both of us can be happy. And Gran Turismo, Knockout City, Mega Man X Dive, and the like, they did reach this compromise. The compromise they reached was that they'll sell the game an offline version that you can buy and then play. That way, they're paid and they get a little bit of profit for it. EA's compromise was very generous, and honestly more generous than most, but they handed out the source code, or they handed out the server tools. And I'm like, here you go, whatever, we're done with it. We don't want to use it anymore. And the reason why they handed those tools out is because they are done with it. Now, did they have to do that? No. Because they paid and invested and made those things. So those are their things, right? But they chose to give them away. And this is why being reasonable and, being somebody that they can talk to and being clear with our demands is important. Because we can have our cake and we can eat it so long as we don't demand the moon and the stars. Because if you start doing that, what you're going to do is create schisming. Schisms that form in movements like this are dangerous because it will fundamentally undermine the movement as a whole. We must be united in our desire and in our wish if we truly seek to enact positive change. This is hard. And that means that I'm a radical video game preservationist. I know this. But I know that my more radical ideas about preservation must take a back seat. And you must understand that your ideas must take a back seat as well. Because in order for us to take a step forward in the right direction, we must be willing to compromise. We must be willing to come to the table and discuss things so that we can actually gain victories and wins. Each game we preserve is one more game under our belt. Each game that's saved is one more game saved. It is a victory not just for one group of people, but for all groups of people and all future generations. It's why we must be willing to compromise. We must be willing to talk about it. Because if we aren't, then we won't get anything. And that's the simple matter of fact. And instead we'll lose support. It's why we must be rational and we must be reasonable. Because if we're not, then we are unreasonable people. And if we're unreasonable people, no one's going to want to deal with us. Nobody's going to want to talk to us. And to be frank, I wouldn't want to talk to you either. That's just like, oh my god, reasonability. And SDK allows people to create servers, would be ideal once the game is sunset. Yeah, that could be a reasonable thing to ask for. Hey, I'd buy your game. Like, okay, if they released World of Warcraft Burning Crusade as a standalone game that I could buy, I'd buy World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. Or World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King.
Wrath of the Lich King.
Yep, that's the one I would really buy. I'd buy Wrath of the Lich King.
Oh, yes.
And I'd be like, oh, dude, I'm going to buy this, and then I'll get my community to buy it, and we'll buy the offline client thing, and then we'll host our own server, and we'll just play it together. And then do our own community event. Like, we'd buy it. You know how many sales that would be? If they sold it for, like, $40. If we got, like, 30 people, which we often do get 30 to 20, and that's just with our tiny little community. Now amplify that globally. How many...
Kibbs,
how much money is that in actuality?
if they do that, you'll just keep playing their old game and not buy a new one.
Not necessarily. The thing is, that's not how that works either. That kind of argumentation is stupid. I have
That's
all...
the main argument.
I have the
against it
entire
I've been
old
seeing.
Command & Conquer collection. But I played them. I played this game before. And I'll play them again when I want to. But, like, I want new things. And I am going to buy new games. I'm playing Dune Awakening, a brand new game, shiny. I'm playing Helldivers 2, a still new game. Not as shiny, getting a little bit, grimy. But I'm still playing it. I'm playing and buying new games all the time. And I'm looking forward to some games, which I wrote down somewhere on a list, but I don't remember. But I'm looking forward to them. Like the Anno 117 one is one of them, and I can't remember the others. And I'm going to buy them when they come out too. I am not just going to buy one game and play one game. I have, over on that part of my desk, there is probably, I think, 40 jewel cases of old games there. And over there, there's a stack of PS3 games. And over there, there's a wall of old Xbox games. And over there, there's a mountain of Xbox 360 games on top of a mountain of Sega Saturn games, on top of a mountain of N64 games. I'm not just going to play one game, okay? I'm going to be buying your fucking shit for probably till the day I croak. All right, you little chuckle fucks. So don't fucking give me that, you're not going to buy a new game. Well, maybe make a good game and I'll buy it, you stupid fuck. You stupid fuck.
That argument has been done lately mostly because the marketing and sales teams they don't understand. They
So
are
okay, so
badly trained
this
now.
is where this comes from. It's not that they're badly trained; it's their headspace in the right, but this is a miscommunication being exacerbated, right? So when it comes to the industry, and I'll read your thank you for the donation, Polly. I'll read that in just a second. When it comes to the industry, the most important thing to remember is that usually there's time windows that they're competing with. Meaning that, okay, we have a release window for January. We're releasing our new Call of Duty game. Oh shit, Battlefield 73 is coming out in that window as well. Oh shit, now we got to compete with them. And so they're thinking about like, okay, these two games have a launch window that now conflicts with each other. But turns out Titanfall 3 is releasing in between these two games. Oh shit. That's critically bad because there's actually only so much money to go around per month. This is true. There is only so much money to go around per month. Even as a streamer, I know this. Meaning that if I don't stream every single day and have a core audience, people donating to me, that money will go to some other person and not me. And therefore, I will starve. I understand that. But the issue is that an old game isn't going to generate or hyper compete with new games. They never do. They never do. Because everybody wants the new game. And that's just how it is. People want the zeitgeist. That's the vast majority of people. But what you will get when you make games, old games sellable, is you will get a steady stream of sales. Medieval 2 is a great example of this. Medieval 2 generates a steady stream of sales. Even Rome 2 does to this day for Creative Assembly. A steady stream of continued sales every fucking year. Because guess what? The market isn't shrinking. The market is always going to be growing with new people. Yes, there might be less people buying games right now. That's true, and that's fair to cause concern. However, there's always a new generation of people growing up. Timmy is now fucking 18 and is now able to buy his own video games because he has his own job. He's looked at these YouTube videos of this old game called Rome 2, and he's like, wow, I really want to play Rome 2. Ave, Imperator. You know, and then he buys the game. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh my god, everybody talks about this ancient game called Halo. I want to see what it's about because I'm very interested in old rustic games. There's always going to be people buying old games. You will always be getting a trickle of sales from people who've never played your game before. Always. Till the day you die.
There's also the thing that like when you do like there's a thing in the sales and marketing called maintaining customer relations, right? So when you release the old game like offline mode, you're not just doing it for money, you're doing it to keep that guy that wants this thinking about you as a good company, because he's more likely...
It's good PR.
Yeah, good PR.
Good
Like
PR.
he's more likely to make a business with you again in the future. Like even if he never even if he never plays a newer game, maybe he has a kid or a friend and he mentions, like, this company is pretty good, I love their games. And like you release a new game and then the other person goes and buys.
We've actually talked about this before. Fans of companies exist. BioWare has its own group of fans that would always buy BioWare games when they came out. My studio, which has not a single video game to its name, mind you, we're just working on one. That's true, yet. But we're working on one. But we don't have a video game to our name. Battle Damage Studios has Battle Damage Studios fans. People who support us. People who are interested in our stuff and are actually actively part of the community and doing stuff. Even a tiny little nobody like me. All right? So these big fucking companies, they now exacerbate my tiny little supporting audience who supported my studio through rain and storm and thunder. Now exacerbate that to a massive studio like BioWare or a massive studio. Like, these people have supporters. And if you show that you care about them, you do what we call PR stunts, right? Like, let me just give you a little bit about thinking, right? So, cheat codes, right? You put cheat codes in your game. That's showing signs that people, you care. Like, oh yeah, there's this extra little doodad. Here's some cheat codes. Or what if we add like an editor? Here's an editor for you to use. Now you can play with this editor and mess around with the game. Or maybe we let modders do modding stuff and we don't punish them, We've colored that funny. We don't put DRM in our game. We do these little tiny nice things for our fans. And what do we lose by doing that? Yeah, did we lose a little bit of money in the process? Like, we had to spend time developing those things? Sure, we did. But you know what we gained? We gained their loyalty. And now they'll be here with us forever because we were there for them and we will always be there for them. And if we're always there for them, they'll always be there for us. Not everybody will be that way, but your core audience is super important. And this extenuates not just to YouTubing, not just to being a streamer, but this extenuates to video game development in all facets of life. If you are true to yourself and true to those around you, they will be there for you even in your finest hour. When all things come crashing down around you, they'll still be there. And that's the most important thing. When Westwood fell, when EA Los Angeles fell, where did the fans go? Even in the silence of the night, the fans are still there right now. They're still making mods for dead games that are effectively dead. They're not getting support officially anymore. They've been making mods. They've been keeping the game alive because they're so passionate and driven that they will keep that game alive until the sun goes out, until their dying breath, unironically. And it may sound corny and cheesy, but it's actually true. You need not look further than ModDB. You need not look further than any community or forum. CNCnet.org is literally proof of that. It's been so many years since the last Command & Conquer game. It's been almost a decade or something. I can't even remember. Maybe it's been a decade. And it will be another decade. And it will be kept alive by its community. They'll be waiting for the day that somebody picks up that torch and somebody carries on that legacy. Even though there have been many who have attempted to, like Tempest Rising and Iron Harvest tried with Company Heroes. They failed and they failed. But do these communities give up? No. There's still people that love Homeworld despite Homeworld 3 not being very good. They still love Homeworld Cataclysm. I still love Homeworld Cataclysm. I still love Homeworld 1 and Homeworld 2. And I'll still be here. That's the big thing. No, these guys aren't going to go anywhere. And that's why it's important to be advocating for the preservation of these games, because in order to preserve these ideas, we must preserve these games lest they be forgotten, right? There are games that I have that you probably, very few of you heard of. Maybe Heavy Gear, Independence War 2. I'm just looking at name things. Ground Control
Heavy
2,
Gear was interesting.
Descent. Okay, Descent is a bit more of a cult classic. Star Trek New Worlds, that's a bad game. But you know what? It's worth preserving, even if it is bad. It doesn't matter. Duke Nukem 3D over there. Yeah. Like, the big thing is that these games should be preserved for future generations to enjoy because it's part of our legacy. And not only from a legacy standpoint and a historical and cultural and artistic point, but also from a video game point, right? As a games developer, it should be important. No, it should be priority one that we encourage new developers to play old games so that they can see what developers were trying to do and then look at the evolution of video games from generation to generation, from 5th gen to 6th gen, from 6th gen to 7th gen, from 7th gen to 8th gen. Why did the plateauing occur? Why did games halt for a while? And there's many reasons as to why that is. There's in fact hundreds of reasons, and it's all unique per case. But in order to avoid this, we must make sure that we do everything we can to preserve all forms of human media, because it's part of our culture. It's part of our history. All these video games are a part of us. Video games are more than just a thing to waste time on. You know, my parents used to scoff, well, one of my parents used to scoff at me about video games. You're never going to make a living off video games. You know, you need to get a real job.
Like VTubing.
Well, Mom, look at me now. Look at me now. It's true. People can't believe
Was
it.
Polly's donation read?
No, we need to get back to it. This is just such a tangent. Polly donates $5, says media preservation in general is a major issue. Blu-rays require readers that endlessly update, and they can disable any specific movie on a whim. That is true. Video games are only one part of this fight, right? I'm a preservationist of human culture, and I'm an advocate for humanity. Always have been. Humanity is number one. Everything we do is divine, and we must preserve all aspects of it as much as we can. Our art, our customs, our music, our movies, our video games. My particular interest is in video games, and so I focus on that the most. But all forms of literature, whether erotic, whether taboo, whether just cringe or bad, you know, it must be preserved. It must be preserved at all costs. Like the cave paintings in Paris and France, right? They must be protected. It's a part of our history. And all things going forward must be preserved for future generations to come. So that when we reach the stars and when we find other life, we will have a mountain with which we will stand upon of our culture, of our history, of our legacy. And that mountain of culture will be our sword in the stars. It is a part of us. It must always be, Chatfish. Kim's channeling his inner emperor of mankind.
Should
I'm
read
not
what
an emperor.
Morty said. It's very interesting.
Morty? Look at me now, Ma. I'm a No. He doesn't think that. She just thinks that you guys are goofy and you guys paid for a goofy avatar. Which is exactly what I told her you did. Because it's what you did. I told them the truth. And that's why they know that I'm just good old Kib, a guy with a goofy little avatar that you paid for, and I'll be like 90 and I'll
So
still
you
look
told
like
them
this.
how you have to go to the mirror and bounce around and pretend you're Aerith for a bit before you can get on stream?
No, I don't go into the mirror and pretend to bounce around. I've always been an animate person. It's just unfortunate that the only way you see the animate me is through this avatar.
I don't know. I would rather look at the avatar.
Like my
than
leg
you.
right now is shaking. Okay, like I've got the
To be fair,
I've got the
Kib, I wasn't
ADHD.
talking about being animate. I was referring to bouncing for a specific reason.
But that is yeah, I know it's a bit philosophical, Chad. But the big thing is then his parents discover his fetish porn tab. Listen, I only have the most eccentric taste. Like, what the fuck?
Kids make sure to only bookmark and have up the correct things.
ISAS for starters. Just like, dang. Wow. Chatfish are just mad and coping. Then his parents discover it. You know. My family already knows what I do for a living. Okay, I show them. I showed them because I did it before anybody else could. Because I know how the internet works. I win.
Made sure to show them the slum channels.
I didn't show them that. But I have
did that to
a
my
prepared
parents.
excuse
Talk about the
already.
slums.
I have a prepared excuse already.
Show them the Albinus Bazaar. Yeah, best part of the server. I showed my parents what I do, and they were
Chatfish,
like, "Why you no engineer?"
let's cool this weird conversation that Chatfish are going down. So let's get away from the funny, haha, weird stuff and back to what matters: video game preservation, which actually matters.
It does.
It does. We need to preserve all video games, chat. God, no family.
People laugh about a lot of people laugh about this kind of stuff, but like, it's the same argument for preserving books and from other cultures, right? Even comics, like people talk about how China, for example, people talk about the Chinese as if the Chinese people were taught just like their government. But when you look at the comics and stories that the Chinese people make, man, those guys don't like communism at all. You can see that they, yes, of course, hail China. Anyway, I hate communism. Like there's stories that they get even after the censorship.
Now hold on, I need to read this first. So, before my mods like delete it or something, because I could see them doing that. The Orange Man says, "Can you invite Arch and Lumi on for a off stream? I miss your interactions with one another. Also, abs or thighs? Thighs, obviously. Now, to answer this question in detail, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm still friends with Arch and stuff like that, but I don't want to. I want to be separate. I want to kind of go back to how I was before and re-find myself through my own content, which I've already started doing, and just build my own destiny. I don't want to collaborate with other YouTubers. I don't want to do stuff with other content creators. I'm done with that. I just want to be kind of left to do my own thing, and I want to pursue my own dreams independently and freely with my own community and my own blackjack, my own hookers. And I've been invited to do things before, but I've rejected them, and I will continue to reject them because I just don't want to. I want to be left alone. I want to do my own thing. You know what I mean? That's it. Chase my own dream. and fail or succeed on my own merit. And that's what I've taken upon doing. I have no intention of doing that, and I have no desire to do that. But I am sad to inform you that, because I'm sad I can't give you those interactions the way you wish they were. But I hope that you have a good day.
It's interesting you bring up China, Albine, because that's a country that's an example of what happens when a lot of your culture and history gets removed.
No, that's the thing. For example, like there's a Chinese Taoism, for example. It was one of the religions that was persecuted by the communists because like it is antithetical to like communist propaganda and communist beliefs. But in Chinese games, and especially in comics and stories, you can see a lot of like Taoism inspiration, like in mentions, and a lot of the stories take from Taoism, even though like the Chinese society doesn't like it. You know?
There's a reason why, whenever Chinese does anything going about mythology or like their history, it's one of two things. It's either Journey to the West or Three Kingdoms, because everything else was burned or buried.
Mm-hmm. And why the preservation is important is because like when you preserve like the small things, like the small games, the small comics, you can in the future you can read that, you can play that, and you can get a very good insight on a culture, right? On a kind of people. Just like I learned a lot about Korea, about seeing how very, very oppressive their societies in their comics, and then like it's like, oh damn.
Can I add something from the Stop Killing Games FAQ?
Yeah, which section?
Third from the bottom. Doesn't the wording of the European Citizens Initiative need to be more specific? I want to add to that because I read a bit about the ECI and everything as a European. The thing is, to be allowed in the ECI, you need to be precise, like at least precise that they accept it. So it's not like, oh, it's so broadly, because I hear that argument also, oh, it's so broadly worded. No, maybe read that article there. The wording of the on the European initiative is very intentional and is meant to solve the problem of video games being destroyed while remaining flexible enough to give publishers and developers as much freedom as possible. What you brought up with the offline mode, like if we can get that as a bare minimum, right? Like everybody would be happy. If a company then goes above and beyond and maybe releases like server structure or something on their own, like not to be forced with, that's a plus. So we're back to the good PR and everything.
Yeah, it's just a good PR move.
I think that's my idea. Like if you can get a baseline of make an offline mode like Mega Man, where you just play the story and get all the gacha characters through that.
Yeah.
And then the company is free to do that.
You want to know something interesting? I'm going to tell you insight. I'm going to be completely honest with you all and tell you some things I've already thought about. And I'm going to tell you my reasonings for why I did this, okay? And I'm being honest with you, so don't be mad at me, but my brain thinks this way, okay? So when I made the decision to talk to my programmer about why we should have a level editor and why we should make our level editor for our game available to the public at some point, he wasn't super big on it because it's a lot of work. But my entire reasoning is because I know that that's a marketing point. I can use that to be like, hey, you can use the level editor to change some of the levels in our game. And the other thing that I did, that I'm like, hey, Robin, like I want to have cheat codes in our game. He's like, what the fuck? Why do you want cheat codes? And I'm like, because I want to use that for PR. What? Our game has cheat codes and they don't cost you any money. That's another marketing point. Like, I just want marketing points to help market my game, because the reason my incentives for doing these things and being nice and giving out these things is competition reasons. Competition and business has helped make good, positive, healthy decisions that give you guys more stuff. And that's just purely being competitive. That's healthy competition. It's good. And competition is a good thing. The industry can do this as well. If I was making an MMO, which I'm not, you damn right I would sell myself on, oh yeah, there's an offline mode. And also we have a sunset plan. You know why? It's good PR. It's good for me. It's good for business. It's also going to mean that you guys, I'm going to win you over. Because my job is to win your hearts and minds. That's always what my job has been. Every day I stream, it's my goal to make you happy and have a great time. And that you want to hang out with me every day. And if I fail in that regard, and I will, again, and I do sometimes, then you'll leave. And it's my fault for that. I have no one to blame but me. And there's nothing wrong if that happens. It's all about winning your heart, if that makes sense. Space Monkey donates $10 and says, just finished playing Stellar Blade. I added a bunch of words there, I'm sorry. And it was awesome. It's confusing why the game was politicized. Most criticism came from people who did not play it, but listened to haters. Well, that's usually how it goes. It's usually because people want something to hate sometimes and are having a rough time in their life, and then they choose to put that on somebody else. That's not right. That's not just. That's wrong. And I think we all find ourselves in the situation which we do that sometimes, where we are lash out at something because we're angry about other things. It usually comes from that reason. And that's really kind of it. And then people latch onto it, and it becomes politicized. Stellar Blade is a game that you can go and you can buy. It's on Steam right now. It's not a game for me, but it's a game for some of you. Some of you will love that game. You should look at it. And that's all I have to say. Because that's my only opinion. All games should be sellable. All games should be available for purchase. My only advocation and only distinction is that games should be segregated based on genre. Segregation of games is good. Such as Rule 34 games or R18 games. I want a strong incentive within Steam and GOG to allow those games, but I also want a button that separates them so that if I press that button, I don't accidentally see that crap, because I don't want to see it. I don't like those games, usually. I don't think ever, really, but I don't like them. I'm not really interested in them, and I don't want to look at them. And I definitely don't want to accidentally open one on stream. That is a bit more important than the other two options, really. But I do want people to be able to play them, because if you want to play them, they're art too. Hentai, and it's art. It's art. And it is worth preserving. No matter how weird it is. I don't want to know
Even
about
the
it.
stuff Beano draws.
Yep, it is. I don't want to see it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to have to hear about it. But it should be preserved. So that future generations can go.
Can be mentally scarred.
Or that. Not like...
Yes.
Bet $400 beg to differ. That's true, sir. If chat baby $400, I would play it. But I usually only play games I'm usually interested in. Actually, no, that's not true entirely. I usually only play games that chat are interested in now. Which usually so happen to coincide with my interests too. So I'm getting lucky there. Sometimes not.
Point out a certain short on the channel.
Yeah, which one? Oh, the gay furry game.
Yes.
I thought about it immediately.
I think that's the best short on the channel. We need to make 2 more shorts.
Yes, MasterCard and
Unfortunately,
Visa
well-
are participating in censorship. And censorship is
Yes.
wrong. That is true.
Yeah.
Visa's notorious
Not
for doing
only
that.
is patron in that, it's not Steam's fault for why there isn't certain hentai games on Steam preservation-wise. It's specifically because MasterCard and Visa threaten them. And Steam can't die on that hill because they have mouths to feed. Okay? It's not their fault. But whose fault it is MasterCard and Visa's. Don't let them escape that. They need to be... It's not their job to tell us what we can and can't buy.
Quite literally what they're doing is basically illegal because they're telling you how you can spend your money.
They're strong-arming companies,
Yeah.
yes. And I don't like that. And that's bad. And I understand that, Plake, you're a big H-game advocate. And I do think H-games should be available for people to buy and play. Even if I don't like those games. It's not about what I like. Okay? That's part about being an extremist, like me. an extremist preservationist like me. All things must be preserved.
Make Kibbs play Corruption of Champions.
God, please no. God, please no. Stellarblade
It's okay.
needs more than just a... It's okay, Master Morty. It's not about that. Don't fixate on that. If you're not interested in that game, you're not interested in it. You're like me. I'm not interested in Stellarblade. It's not a game for me. But I am happy that Space Monkey got to play it. I am happy that Space Monkey got to have a good time in it. And I'm happy Plake got to play it, and I'm happy Plake gets to play it and can play it whenever he wants. That makes me happy, knowing that you're happy. Because at the end of the day, if you're winning, so am I. That's how this works. We as an industry need to be, and not just an industry, but as a community, need to be happy for the fact that they can literally play any game they want. It doesn't matter. If it's not a game for you, it doesn't matter. Like, I play a lot of games you guys don't like, okay? And I like a lot of games you guys don't like. It doesn't matter. And Plake, relax. You simp. There we go. Perfection. No infighting. Catfish no better. Slapping each other with your fins, as funny as it is, it's kind of stupid to look at.
As former Ghost said earlier, let's not be a bunch of crabs in a bucket.
Yes. Don't be retarded.
Let's not be a bickering bunch. Haha.
Yes. But the big thing is that it doesn't matter if it's not for you. You need to be an advocate for it so that it's for someone. That's always been my line of argument. That's what I've preached to pretty much everybody I've ever met, and I've tried to drill into as many people as possible. Because the reason why is if you let one thing slip, all things slip. And I will fucking stand by that opinion that I've had since the dawn of time, since my brain grew to the ability to comprehend this concept. There was a point in which it didn't, and I can remember that point. It's like 2006 or something.
Night Motorcyclist says this is all related to right to repair and right to ownership. Yeah, there was a talk with Scott Ross and Louis Rossman. They had about that. Louis Rossman is the guy with the right to repair stuff, who also had the initiative, I think, for the USB-C on iPhones, for example.
Yes, the right to repair them. Because you know what? You own it.
Yeah.
You should have the right to repair. Absolutely. I mean, look at video game modding. I can take my OG Xbox right over there, and I can send it to a guy who specializes in jailbreaking it and upgrading it. And I can get my Xbox or my PS2 repaired. My Xbox could use maintenance, chat. It could. The disc tray doesn't work quite correctly, and it gets stuck. Something's kind of broken, and I had to tie a zippy tie to it to sort of pull it open sometimes, and I'm worried it's going to damage something, and something will break, and something might at some point. Every time I use that Xbox, it's putting a little bit more wear, and I do need to get it into maintenance, but there is no company that does maintenance for it. But there are individuals who will do maintenance for it for the right price, and I need to get it to one of those refurbished guys so they can fix up my Xbox and make it all pretty. Maybe even upgrade it.
Tibbs needs to glue panties to his Xbox.
Give it a 2 terabyte storage for no goddamn reason. Why not?
Slap some more RAM in it to break all the games.
Start shitting itself. Blake is thinking he's funny, but he's not. He smells like female. He smells like... Very good, very good. Look at Microsoft taking away user control on Windows. Yes. What made PC great was the fact that PC means personalized computer. That's what made it better than Mac. That's why you won, Microcucks. I fucking hate that company so much. They're so stupid in so many ways. They're actively morons. Oh my god. Burning every good ounce of will and every genius thing they had. Systematically purging themselves of fucking intelligence. So, the problem with Microsoft and why they're so goddamn dumb is because they're just fucking idiots. Every last one of them. Personal computers are amazing. And the fact that I can tailor it and customize it and make it my own is what makes it good. If it was just like a Mac computer, I think I would puke. Imagine having everyone's PC being exactly the same. You can't customize it, right? Look at my shitty fucking computer. It's Windows 11. It's garbage. Yes, there does need to be more outrage on that. That's a whole other can of worms, which isn't related to video game preservation, but is related to users and user end, basically, freedoms. And they're basically taking away user freedoms because now that they have a monopoly on the market, they can now force more things. And this is bad. This is greedy. What you're doing is morally wrong. It's wrong to do that. You should be being a good company, Microsoft. You should be allowing people to have the same customization, tailorability, and also not really being forcey with the whole update system thing. But they are becoming more totalitarian with that. If everything is exactly the same, it makes it so much easier to break into. Yes, standardization is never good. If everybody uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as a password, then, well, we're in for a real big problem. Real bad. Nothing stops MS from revoking access to certain games. Microsoft usually doesn't do revoking of things, usually. Video game-wise, Microsoft has actually been kind of on the good side, kind of, not quite. They've done some questionable things, but, like, they're more anti, what's the word? Segregation, no. Exclusivity, yeah. Microsoft is become more anti-exclusivity, which is good. Now, granted, they're not doing it for a good reason. They're doing it for good business reason, which is a good reason in and of itself, right? It's good rate PR, and it's great for profits. Also, the age of remasters has been an age of good, all in all. This is something that a lot of people just don't quite see. And that they're always going to point to bad remasters. The reason why I say this is remasters is what they do is re-excite interest into old IPs. And now this is actually giving wind to video game preservation. Like literally remaking like Resident Evil 4 made people go and play the first one that never did before. Got a whole new generation to play the OGs to see the differences. Got more people looking into modding those old ones. Got more people talking about them and seeing if they could port them and make them workable on more things. Remakes have never been a bad thing. Now, there have been bad remakes, but remakes represent a good deed and a good thing. Because what it does is it reinvests interests in these IPs and maybe sparks new life into them. The worst thing that happens when a bad remake occurs, it's just shit and nobody liked it, nobody buys it. What happens when a good remake happens? You get a good thing. Dead Space remake? We got a great thing. We got something from an IP we'd never probably see from again. Even though we probably never will get another one. But we got something good. And the remake is awesome. I just wish we would have gotten another one for 2. But, probably not going to happen. The way things are looking. Makes me sad. Breaks me heart. But re-exciting interest in old ideas is never a bad idea, because it can also launch new things from that. Age of Empires 4 literally sparked the definitive additions for Age of Empires 2, which sparked new content for an old game. Yes, some of the content is bad, but some of the content was received incredibly well. And not only that, but also re-sparked interest in an entire genre. Age of Empires resurrected RTS. By the way, in case you didn't notice. I noticed, but some people might not have because they might not be interested. Microsoft resurrected RTS by itself. And they do get the credit for this because a lot of reason why a lot of AA's are making RTSs now, why Broken Arrow exists, why a bunch of these other RTSs are getting a lot of interest again, and why people are getting interested in Wargame and stuff like that, was because they excited interest by making them. They reinvigorated what was a dying genre into a genre that actually has things being made again. Not a lot, but something, and that's better than nothing. Especially considering that some things are actually decent, or okay. And it looks like that dwarf thing looks pretty goddamn good. It only does things that they think will be good for PR. That's true. Dwarf? Yeah, it's just coming along. He's working on it.
Good.
I mean, he's not a solo dev anymore, I don't think. I think the other guy is, though. The guy that's doing that weird, like, Nightmare Apocalypse sort of, like, RTS that looks really cool. Called Dust Front. You love the Age of Empires?
Oh yeah,
series?
Dust
That's good.
Front.
Yeah. And the big thing is that's why I was so adamant, because there were people that I talked to at the time that were actually mad about Age of Empires being resurrected and wanted it to fail, just like they wanted Helldivers 2 to fail. And it's like, that's not good. And it was purely for
why?
I'm not going to get into the details, but it was for political
Okay.
reasons. Because
No,
then
that's
it'll eliminate who was the person. I don't want to do that. So
fine.
these are the disagreements I had, and I'm like, no, like that's not something we should be celebrating. We shouldn't celebrate games being bad as a good thing for clicks and views. We should be weeping. We should want games to be good. When Helldivers 2 was stepping in it, we shouldn't get excited about that. We should be angry and disappointed, not cheering. But this is mostly a content creator thing. This is a problem with content creators because they get a bit fucking vulture-y.
Come home, Green Branch.
You shouldn't celebrate these things as good things. We should not revel in this. We should try to actively resist this and try to better the industry as a whole. There's no nobler cause than improving everything for everyone, rather than celebrating the degradation of something for self-profit. Helldivers 2 Tev made a video on SKG. What was their opinion? I'm very curious. I wonder what their opinion was. I'm actually curious. What was it? Give me the TLDR, Night Motorcyclist, because I don't want to leech other people's videos. I don't like that.
Don't be a react slot.
Helldivers devs were trying their hardest to catch all the landmines. No, they weren't trying their hardest to catch all landmines. If you actually look at it, it was a series of actual unfortunate incidents compiling on top of each other and bad timing. But what Helldivers 2 devs actually managed to do was actually something that really does deserve its own stream. Helldivers 2 managed to help bring about another victory for everyone. They actively fought against the exclusivity. They've actively fought against the Sony online assignment thing, and they actively fought against Sony on almost every level without outright open rebellion, and actively encouraged people to raise their complaints and basically supported the entire movement. The reason why I like Helldivers 2 and Arrowhead so much is because they know you're smart and they outright said it, but people try to blow it the other way around. They believe that you are too smart to be fooled into something stupid. And not only do they believe that, they've also said that their fans are really intelligent and that they can do great things. Because it was thanks to you that's why Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox. You guys did that. You're the heroes. And they acknowledge that.
Big donation drives that the community has funded and also supported.
For children's hospitals.
Children's hospitals and
good
other
things.
stuff.
Yep, absolutely. So that's why when you see somebody celebrate the hatred for Arrowhead, it speaks volumes about their person. Mostly because it's like, okay, are you actually looking into the issue, or are you just trying to ride somebody who's mad about a gun that got nerfed in a video game? When they actually tried to improve things. The devs cut ties with Sony? Yes. They're going to maintain working on Helldivers 2 because they're loyal to us, which is, again, another W. Very, very proud of those devs. Honestly, everything they've done right now made me very happy. They're only going to be working with Sony on Helldivers 2 because they explicitly want to make sure that Helldivers 2 doesn't fall to disrepair, which is what Sony would do if they left. My supporters don't want to be... I can be a wannabe ODST again. That's fair. Now, the Warbond might be a Gears of War 1 or it might be a Halo 1. We'll have to wait and see. My money's on Halo because it's the bigger IP. It just seems like the most logical thing to do. It also coincides
But Gears is also releasing soon.
But it also coincides with the release date of Halo Reach, identically, by the way.
That is also, yeah.
So it's very symbolic as a gesture. That's what I'm expecting, yeah.
So that brings up the question, what is that leak image of a chainsaw then?
I think that is, it's not related to Dawn of War. It's not related to Warhammer, I mean. Like, and when I think of Warhammer 40K, I think of Dawn of War.
When people think of Warhammer 40K, they should think of Dawn of War. It's the only really good thing out of it.
That's true. You know, they don't think of Dawn of War, because I looked at that leaked weapon, I cross-referenced it with Gears, and I cross-referenced it with
It doesn't quite
grammar,
fit either.
and it fits neither. So my thinking is
Yeah,
that
also
it's
talk more
actually
about
a
gears.
weapon from the in-universe. It's from neither setting. It doesn't coincide with it.
Boulder's gonna have an ornithopter soon. Congrats.
What happened to the furry art silliness? Are still getting banned for emotes? As far as I'm aware, they cracked down on their mods. That was a while ago. That's why it's been a nothing burger ever since, and everybody cites the old incident, nothing new anymore. Because nothing's happened since. But it's an easy point to try to, what's the word? Muddy the water with misinformation, I guess, is the goal there. But that's always been the goal of people like that. The entire purpose is to mislead you and misinform you and to hate things. Hold on a second. Community managers are idiots? Not always, okay? This is why we need to have this conversation, because there are community managers that I'm going to stand up and defend because they're worth defending. The guy, the community manager for Command & Conquer, for EA, is literally the reason why we got the CNC remaster. He's literally the reason why we got, fucking the source code released and a bunch of tools for Sage Engine released. He's done everything in his power to help, basically, the community. That right there is a goddamn good community manager. And they do exist. I've met a few, and I've seen a few. They're passionate people who care. They do exist. The person in the question that we're talking about with that banning thing is an unhinged moron. But that's besides the point. The only reason why, because I don't want to do generalizations like that, because I feel bad, because I actually know, like, cases of good ones.
There's actual community managers, and then there's
doing their actual job.
Moderators who are there for the power trip.
Yes. Power trip people who are there for the power are there to abuse that power because they get endorphins from exerting power over others. Those people are manipulative and bad.
And Ghost is specifically referring to the Helldiver community managers.
Yes.
Specifically the Discord ones.
They're not on the development team, as far as I remember.
They're not.
They're literally just like volunteers or whatever, if I remember right.
I think a chunk of them are volunteers from the moderators for Reddit.
Yep. And that's why they had some incidents with the moderators. The developers didn't really want to get into moderating, which is more than respectable. I don't deal with moderating my own Discord server. I have mods for that, because I'm not supposed to moderate you guys. That's why Frederick is a wrench. That's why Plake has a wrench. It's their jobs to basically beat Chatfish up when they act out of place. And the only reason why I gave it to them is because they didn't want to be.
Actually, on that note,
Because I
shouldn't
didn't
Ghost have a
want-
wrench since he's a moderator on the Discord?
He should. I know he didn't want responsibility, but I'm going to keep forcing it on people that don't want it.
Give it to him.
Now,
Force him to moderate.
The reason why this method has always worked out so well for me, by the way, with forcing moderators onto people that don't want it, because I remember there's like somebody who's like, "Oh, can I be like a mod?" And I'm just like, "No." No.
I know that person. It was me.
Yeah, and you still aren't a mod.
Then
You
me.
still aren't a...
I am.
You don't have any actual power. We let you have that so you think you do, so you can moderate that room. But if you act out of line, we're gonna fucking cut your balls off.
Damn.
Actually, you gave it to me so I'd be easier to spot on chat in that one stream back then, says Block.
Yes, but you've also been a good loyal fish, and like you're one of the like. A lot of you guys, like moderators, are often people I've disagreed with. Like Ragnarok doesn't agree with like 90% of my like visual takes. Like we have a lot of disagreements there. Blake argues with me on almost everything, but often the best mods are the people who aren't the most agreeable. In fact, they're the people that are the most interesting to talk to. Stone Age is sweating. It's like, ooh.
If you can't make you green, we'll make you blue.
Also, like Teddy in the Sun Bucket? No. Teddy was moderated not because we didn't agree on things. It was moderated specifically because I wanted the group in the Slum Bucket to have representation on the moderation community. Because I felt bad that they weren't represented in the moderation. And I want each group inside our community, even though they're distant cousins, kind of, I want them to have representation within the community so that they have a voice to speak to. So that they're not unable to communicate with us. Because it felt kind of like we didn't have connection there, and there was always communication errors there. And making Teddy a moderator would eliminate this problem, because Teddy is a great guy, and not only is he a great dude, but also, like, now he can be the voice for you guys if there's ever an issue. Because you guys don't always come out down to the low room, Sucky Juice. I see you up there. You sometimes do, but you mostly stay up there, and that's cool. But I want other groups in the community to have a voice on the moderation team so that they aren't voiceless. And yes, if you notice, I do model things after the United States quite a bit. I have a tendency to do that. I have a tendency
You mean the best model?
Yeah, pretty much. I want representation from the different communities in the Discord group on the moderation team so that each community doesn't feel like they're being bullied by another group. Yes, unfortunately, he is British. And there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing I can do.
Listen, you don't need to bring up his,
Disability.
disability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a safe space, chat.
Because our community is a series of groups of people, right? Like, some of you play games together, like Spider Pig plays with Genghis a lot of the time, and Dead Glory and stuff, they hang out. And then Master Morty and Former Ghost and Vulpus hang out. And there's like little groups that hang out in the Discord server that sort of do their own thing, and they'll interact with everyone else. And sometimes there's loners like Cassie who just sort of chill and vibe with the room. But the big thing is that making sure that every group is actually represented within the community so that they have a say. And so they're not
By the
left
way,
out.
since the
Go ahead.
since you did the event from Helldivers, the Defense of Super Earth, I have the feeling Discord is since then much more active. Also, Doom came also to that, but since then I see a lot more people hanging out in the channels and everything, which
Yep.
is a really nice thing.
That's because MMO and live service games are games that are actively being... There's always something new coming with the game like that. That's what made World of Warcraft so good in originally, is that there was always something new to look forward to. But then, over time, it degenerated and became something boring and uninteresting. And then we didn't want to play it no more. And I could try playing World of Warcraft now, but it wouldn't be like playing it like it was before, you know? What WoW has become is not what it was. But what I found is that the new World of Warcraft for me is Helldivers 2 and Dune Awakening. These are games where I'm actively excited for the new content. I'm looking forward to what's coming. And there's always something to look forward to in these games. These are games we can actually go back to and play. And it's true.
Huh?
Travis
What
was
are
talking
you
about
saying?
annexing Britain. That's funny. What?
No, Frederick is saying something. I don't understand that quite right.
Why did my name be
Why did my
seen
name
and
be-
not Vulpus? That day when we pointed out that shit hit F.
Oh, I know who he's. Oh no, I know who he's talking about.
What?
I'm writing it in a chat.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good for stream.
No,
I don't like bringing up
mentioning.
people that
mentioning
do not
other-
things that get
yeah.
spanked. Yes. There's a certain level of decorum that we must always have. Space Butler's just petting other fish. He's touching you, Chant. Run! Like, what? No! Poor Frederick.
Ah, yes, Space Butler. I would like a hot chocolate, please. Go get it.
What?
He's a butler.
Because he's a filter
Oh,
for
okay.
space, you know?
Space
Be
Butler,
right
yeah.
back. Going to check my pizza.
I know it's a
Wow.
very deep joke.
Fatty. Oh, that, yes. Thank fucking stopped raining. Yeah, that's fair.
You say that as it's starting to
The only
rain
thing to
here, and
explain to
it's-
Chatfish is I don't really engage with drama, mostly because I don't care. Like, there's a great saying that I heard somebody say a long time ago. It's none of your business, or whatever it was, or it's not, and I view that as it's none of my business. Like, if somebody calls somebody dumb, that's mean. Like, why did you do that? Like, you should have done that. But I'm not gonna go and make fucking vulture content about it, because it's parasitic. I don't like it. It betrays my sense of merit and my sense of nobility, I guess, or how to put that into words. Basically, I have this sense of what being a YouTuber is and should be as a streamer and a content creator, and I hate the idea of being a YouTuber, but I get angry. But the big thing is that if it has to be, then it must be done a certain way. It must not
Oh, I
be
misunderstood.
like about that kind of stuff. But yeah.
I misunderstood. He pointed out that guy that kept doxing in the stream chat.
Yep. Sucky Juice gives 5 memberships. Thank you for the gifting memberships, Sucky. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it,
Be
Chatfish.
prepared, Juice. Morty's about to try to worm ton you.
What?
Morty has
Oh,
fetish
yes.
for the KZ for the KZ Arif thing.
He has a deals he's making with chat.
Yes, and to humor him, we should mention it once. Yes, there's a KZ Arif model fund going on, and also if we fund it until the end of the week, Rapier is going to change his name to Chumba for 2 months. Also, Morty threw in a loot com slot if it gets funded by the end of Saturday.
Well, there you have it, chat. The KZ model. Get it going, boys. Like, okay.
Are you happy now, Morty?
There's
Also,
Indio.
chat. Me Chumba. Wee woo. This is the last day you'll hear it.
Damn.
Damn.
Oh no.
It's the first day I heard it, to be honest.
Also, that did not hit Hugo Fugi.
But it hit Grok.
Hugo Fugi
Those
has a
are
bounty
different.
on him right now, chat, if you would like to win it. Now watch Hugo Fugi come in and gift himself a membership and then stare at everybody. Like he did.
I did it.
Blue
Bounty.
blue balls again.
Now with Hugo Fugi, you want to gift fast because if he fucking blue balls like he usually does,
I
well,
mean,
he's a
he
dangerous
was like, he
bad guy.
did it. He's like, oh, everyone was trying, and I felt bad, so I just got myself it.
Now you made it worse. Now you should feel bad. You should-
What the hell?
That's a map.
Also, it started thunderstorming. If I just disappear, that's why.
Well, we don't dox people in general, Mr. Personality. It's none of my business. Firstly, it's none of your business either, chat. What people do in their own personal time or whatever they're doing is none of our business, and it's not something we should care about. So long as it's not harming or hurting anyone, who cares? But the more important thing is that, oh god, I just hate that, the idea that the pretentious fucking, I must dictate to others as to how they should fucking, like, live their lives bullshit. Garrett Grant donates 10 memberships. Thank you for the gifting memberships. Very generous, Garrett. Very much appreciated.
Well, it hit.
Good old Jerry
It
Can.
hit Jerry Can.
And Sean. Spaghettius' profile picture is good. I like that one.
Don't forget the cookie fund, chat.
That's true.
You want cookies to win, don't you?
Don't
Chocolate
forget
chip?
Fit Kips. As the resident physio here, I demand you to go for Fit Kips.
Frederick gives 5
yeah.
memberships. Thank you for the gifting of memberships. Very
No,
generous.
Bino, I'm not doing therapy on you.
Former
Forget it.
Ghost gifts a membership as well. Jerry Can's been sitting here lurking. There you are. God, you are a little lurker. Next time I'm gonna say Skylord or fucking Novocaine or fucking Lord Raven or lurkers. God damn. Jerry Can, how you doing? God, you do hide. I should have known he was a hiding one. His little Chatfish just sinks back under the water. Fucking Christ.
Zar says you guys are gonna break memberships again.
Go ahead, break it. Break it, make it
Highly
daily.
possible.
Let's break it, chat. Listen, I only say that because it means I give more money. But the big thing you know with me is I'm honest. Oh my god, Matt C is here. More lurker fish. Holy shit. Sometimes I forget you guys just sit there and don't say anything.
You can add your own, Volpus.
Yeah, there's Trusty.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Whenever you guys say like breaking the YouTube, I am reminded that like yes, the $1 billion corporation breaks all the time.
Yeah, that's true. He lands on Fahataha, who Sambanizer, Adam Defiant, Majasam, and Drunk Panic. So now I'm going to say all their names out loud because then now some of them will actually respond because they'll actually be in here. Which does give credence to the idea that maybe it actually gives memberships to people that are lurking and they just don't know it, like Shadowblade. Because the fact that lurkers finally chirp when that happens, or I've seen too much from Jano. Damn, you guys are going hard on Hugo.
Also, I need to yell at Volpus.
Former Ghost Kids
Yours isn't $5, it's €5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember you have different regional currency, Cooper.
Mine is 30 cents.
Mine is Wait, you can get members for 30 cents?
Mm-hmm.
Eh?
That's why I never do it.
That's why I never do it. If Bino wins the fucking bounty, that would be... He'd only had to pay 30 cents and he got all that. That'd be so funny. That's fair, Matt C. Well, of course. Obviously, driving takes priority. No shit. No shit. Can't have you crashing. Then my viewership will go down.
Okay, so Janos.
Oh, oh god. But for real though.
Janos is SF, Fit, and KZ.
Fincarn is pesos, if I remember right. Mexican pesos. My god. I'm glad you guys are doing it through YouTube, because if you guys are doing it through countries, oh my god. It's like that time whenever I get Japanese donations through Stream Elements, and I'm like, god damn. I can't redeem the Japanese money until it reaches like a certain threshold, but they only come in a certain amount, so I'm just like looking at my Japanese monies. I don't know what the fuck they're called, but like I'm just like I can't have them. I can't have them until it reaches like 200 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just sitting there. It's like 80. It's like $100 worth now, but or something like that. And I can't have it. I can only get it when it reaches a certain threshold.
I need to make a cheat sheet for that.
I don't even know who gave me money from Japanese monies. I can't believe that happened. Who does that? Which one of you is Japanese? Which one of you is... I don't think I've ever met a single Japanese person in our community.
Is he on my list?
On your list? That sounds ominous.
On the list.
If the
He's
Japanese
not.
were to talk in the chat, would like it appear a normal?
Neither is
or-
Pondozan, so I need to know what your guys' currency is and how much. Japanese currency is yen. Yen. Wait, Fincarn is yen? Yes, Mexican pesos. Yes, Mexican pesos. Okay.
No, Fincarn is not yen. He's saying the Japanese currency is the yen. He's Mexican pesos. I'm 90% certain. Based on his accent and his chatfish.
Tony Chips is half weep.
Yeah, he's just answering my question, what it's called.
Yeah.
How many pesos?
What's pesos per membership or whatever? It's like a $4, $2.
It's entirely, I don't know, because for like the Romanians, it's like $2 US is what they get.
Mm. Yep, because it's balanced each
Holy
country.
hell! It is raining really hard. I'm like flash flood levels of hard.
What?
It's raining really hard suddenly.
Not of my place. It's not raining in Minnesota. Oh, the sun is
Also making sure, Kips, did you read my DM?
You DM me on Discord?
Yes.
Yep, $2.50. Okay, I was kind of close. Yeah, because I remember because Boog told me it once. Oh yeah, your translation of that. Yeah, that's fine. But why did you add like...
Hmm?
Well, some words are not going to be translatable because they're Astrian words. Like tempori or illumine. Those
Yeah,
are literally-
that's the only one. That's the only one I couldn't. The rest I got.
Yep. If a word is specifically
tempori.
stated in like Astrian, then it's just Astrian or Builder or Nifir.
Yeah,
Because
Like
of
I
course there's
said,
no the translation would be like hello or something like that. It's like EO. EO means hello in Builder.
yeah. No, I get that. As best as I could, of course, like descriptive. If you take like Nephiric, I need to translate it roughly into that.
Remaining inside his room.
Okay, Chumba's power went out.
Oh, we lost Chumba. Chumba down.
Yeah.
The parrots
Let's
got
go
him.
after FinCon.
He's got a storm,
okay.
so he might not be back.
The parrots got to him, chat.
Yeah. Bye, Chumba. Hope you live.
He's dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Is Vulpus
Um,
Fairman too? I've joked about that because he's German, but not necessarily. He just so happens to be German and is very active.
So I'm asking again, FinCon, how much is one membership for you?
I think he said $2.50. I thought.
$2.50.
I believe that sounds about right because that's what I think. I think it is for pesos. I think is what the equivalent is. 50 Mexican pesos is like $2.50. Yeah, approximately. Is that how much a membership is? 50 pesos? I can't remember. I don't remember the each currency.
He can just look it up. I don't see it in the chat.
One membership is 50 pesos.
50,
Yep.
like two. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so now if you donate more than one membership, you now know that each membership is worth 50 pesos, and then we can do automatic conversion based on the currency converter so that it's lined up to whatever the currency value is now, so that our goals are tracked accurately, and that way
now
we are always on
Pondo.
What?
Pondo-san also needs to tell me which currency he has.
Pondazon? Polish?
Yeah.
I believe. I think. I don't know why I think Pondazon, I think Poland. I think Poland. He also goes to bed earlier.
DKK is my currency.
Nope, he's Danish. One membership is 49 DKK.
Danish kronen.
Donkey Kongs. Or Danish kroners, I guess. Danishes are delicious. That's all I like. I didn't even know it was like a people.
But I already fucking associated DKK with Donkey Kong, so like.
Yeah, no. Like Norwegian monies are NOKs, which I always think Norwegians are North Koreans. And then Swedish is what's that game? It's like it's abbreviated in a way that reminds me of a video game, so I just always associate it to a video game.
Brazil is real.
I'm trying to remember the name.
It's funny because our money is like not real.
But yes, so back to the subject, because we've kind of meandered a bit, little fishies. So
sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, well, donors were coming in. This is going to happen. Yeah. These are podcasts. Podcasts meander. Them meandering it's literally in the name. It's literally in the name. Swedish kroners. Yeah.
We stay for the autism.
SK. Something with a game abbreviation. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. You called it Crucios, or? Before it was real, it was called Crucerios.
Yeah.
What? Sekiros. That's what they call it. SEKs. Yes. Sekiros, because it's a copy of Sekiro. Like, that's what I imagined it. Like, I'm like, thanks for the 500 Sekiros. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. Just a stack of boxes. Or all the
sec units.
All the fucking North Koreans they send me. I'm like, I don't know. I guess they'll starve.
No.
I guess they'll...
Yeah, it's not going to change much from their normal thing then.
Yeah, it's about normal. Just give them a moon pie, they'll be set. I hear they love those.
you put them in a warehouse and have them do a squid game.
See, Not a Fish, did you make your name Not a Fish because of us, or was that just something you always had? But you are a fish. Not a fish. You can claim to be not a fish all you want, but you're just a big old chatfish. Everyone's a chatfish. Even I'm spiritually a chatfish. We're all just little fish. Little chatfish. Chatter-patter fish. So, back to video game preservation, you little monkeys. The big thing about video game preservation is that there are many avenues that this can go, right? But why is communication important and why is centralization important, right? Well, the reason why the movement does need centralization is because misinformation is going to be a problem. The other problem is because a lot of content creators are pushing their audience to sign that thing. Now there's a lot of people who signed a thing because they were told to sign a thing and they didn't think about it. And because they didn't think about it, they have no idea what the hell they signed, and they're also just like espousing random nonsense without actually reading what the actual movement's about. And so everyone's like, I don't know what's happening. Noda. But now you're not Noda fish. Yes, I used to be Nada. Nada. Not a fish. Oh, I guess it kind of just rolls off the tongue. Because you're a little fish. Liam McNeil says, the people who signed the petition should now reach out to the EU representative and educate them so the lobbyists for AAA can take advantage of their ignorance and fall for their BS lies. The big thing is I don't think the government really needs to do anything here. I just think that the conversation needs to be that the people need to say, remember, it needs to be EU resident citizens. Yes, we cannot sign this. It is illegal for me to sign this. If you aren't American, do not sign that. You can't sign that.
Yes. Please don't.
You're only Europeans are allowed. We don't have anything for us. We just sit here and we stare at our country and we just look at our little fucking congressmen. They look at us and we just stare at each other.
I got really angry because there are already like gay ops for this, where people are like, "Oh no, as Americans, sign this so it fails." I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's even worse, to be honest. Like, a lot of people, they don't pay attention to a full video. So,
that's because,
like,
okay, so
also true.
I'm gonna nip this in the bud real quickly. People, if there's something that somebody can do to troll somebody, they will do it, right? This is where gatekeeping comes into effect. Gatekeeping, you will eliminate the troll by simply just removing them, right? It's like bad actors, right? Or somebody that joins our community and doesn't respect. If you don't respect the rules of our community, we just eat you and we never think about you again. That's it. If you don't respect my audience or how we talk and chat, the chat is a privilege. We revoke people's access to it because we gatekeep it. Yes, if you don't fit into our community, we will kick you out. We're just going to do that. And that's how it is. If you try to change or like work on it, we'll try. But if at a certain point it's like, no, it's just not working out, we're going to kick you out. Most of you are fine. Actually, not most of you. Pretty much all of you in here are fine. You're all fine. None of you did anything. But this happens from time to time. And when it does, it always sucks. But it will. And it will always be something that will happen. Not everybody can fit inside this community. You will just ban all video games. No more video games for anyone. Go smoke a cigarette. Stone Age is always grumpy, former ghost. Just let him be. He's a grumpy little fish. He's called Stone Age for a reason. He even explained why he was grumpy like a few months ago, or was it a year ago. When we were talking, I'm like, why are you always so grumpy? And he's like, I'm just a grumpy little guy. Grumpy weird. Sometimes chatfish are a little grouchy. We're getting fined? What? No, we're not getting fined. We didn't do anything yet. That's true. Yet. But yeah, the big thing is that when we prune those people, we remove those people from the community, we make it, right? And this is part of my experiment is, can I create a tailored kingdom, basically, of like-minded individuals who don't necessarily need to all agree on something, because many of you don't, but can I do this in a way that, yes, I can make my own little kingdom? And in a way, I kind of have succeeded at this. Seems to work. I don't know. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. I'm still operating, so it's working so far.
It's the best community that I ever was part of. So, like, I think...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here now for a year when I joined it. Like, I think next week, I think the 13th or something is my 1-year anniversary in the Tor Tester team. And I need to say that there was no drama in a year. And that's surprising. Like, certain arguments, yes, but big drama about something, no.
It won't cause games to get banned with, like, knives in Britain. If anything, it'll get practice. I mean, the big thing is, my only concern... Okay, so I understand Stone Age's concern, and I do think it's a reasonable concern to have. That's why getting governments involved with video game preservation is risky, because it could end up disastrous not only for developers but also for players, right? That's the big issue. But what this is doing is this is opening up a dialogue with studios, with players and users. This dialogue is now actually being approached and people are now talking to each other. This is good. This is what I want to see. I want to see developers talk, even if they don't agree, and that's okay. That's all right. Don't scream at them if they disagree. The fact that they're willing to have a dialogue is already a victory. You got to understand that. We've already started getting them talking, and not only have we gotten some of them talking, but we've got some of them singing agreement. Now, yes, of course, my studio is always going to be in agreement with this as well, because I run my own studio. No shit. So it's not a surprise that we're on the same board. But what is happy, and what's happy for me, or what's making me happy, is that I'm hearing so many studios with a lot of product that actually have product out, actually being in agreement with this and wanting this. This is good. This is a net W for all of us. Yeah, hey, continue to squeal. Continue to squeal and be gray. Your grayness is beautiful. Like, no. No. I've been here for years. Just lurked for most of it. I started being active like a month ago. Yeah, about a month and a half or so. The devs themselves, for the most part, are on board with SKG. It's just the studio management. Yes. The bean counters and upper management of these studios are against SKG. Yes, they're concerned. That's true. A lot of people want this to succeed because a lot of the developers themselves want to see. As a writer for Battle Damage Studios, I want this to succeed because I want to see people's work preserved, right? I intend to do everything in my power as the director of our studio to make sure that we will make sure our game is, our game already has a sunset policy. You buy it, you own it. And that's the end of the story.
That's very nice of you, kid.
It's a single player game. It's pretty simple to manage, you know. But I don't have an MMO with which to do that with. But I love the idea of that single player component. Devs want to see their hard work to continue living. Yes, they all do. I can almost tell you that universally as a developer myself. I want to see my work last forever because it's part of my legacy. Just like I know exactly what the other developers are thinking, that's their work too. They feel the same way that I do about my stuff. And so surely, most of them are on the same page. They too want to see their work continued and people playing it. I can't imagine what it must be like for people to actually play your game and then actually like love it and maybe hate it too. And it's probably a mixed emotion thing that they experience. But the thing is that must be something truly special. And so it should be maintained. Rapier, take your storms back. It started raining here. Master Morty's starting to die. That's because the storm's moving to him. Did you see the
picture he sent in the stream room?
I'm not going to show it on stream because it would be doxing his location, but yes, I'll take a look. Now, you should be careful about posting that in the stream room, Goomba. Oh, nice. That's pretty fucked. Yeah, his power's not coming back for a while. That tree has collapsed a power line. And that line is not functioning. Yep.
That line is not a happy
line.
Now,
Choomba, don't fucking go near that wire, you fucking monkey, if you're listening. I mean, I know you know that, but I feel like if something were to happen to you and I didn't mention that, I think I could never forgive myself. So, this is a selfish request, obviously. But fucking don't go near it.
I just imagine.
At least you're honest.
I just imagine and he's like fucking like doing that SMN thing like.
And keep your dogs inside so they don't go near it either. There, okay. I think I've said everything I need to say. Keep kids away from it, you know. God damn. I was the older brother, right, of my little brothers who are a decade younger than me. And I'd always get fucking like these bouts of like, oh my God, like, no, don't do that. No, don't go over there. Stay where I can see you. Stay where I can see you.
I get what you mean, but
you're not allowed to leave my sight, and no, you're not allowed to go outside. Can I go outside? No. You're going to play Minecraft. But I don't want to play Minecraft. It's easier to manage you when you're inside. I don't have to worry about you wandering around and shit. Wandering around. Play video games. Like a normal child. Like a normal child.
But I went to exercise. No. Bracelet.
Yeah, no, I was kind of a controlling older brother because the idea of them going to do something, like, I was very controlling. I do know that much. Because I couldn't stomach the thought of something happening to them, so I just refused to even allow that to possibly happen. If I reduced the amount of ways that something bad could happen, then surely it would make it easier to manage them.
I get it, me.
It was a bit of a control freak, but hey, they got to see some cool things, like, you know, video games they shouldn't have seen. You know, you're welcome. Kibbs is not legally liable for anyone licking power lines. No, not legally liable, but I could never, like, live with that, right? It's why.
Okay.
So, for example, let me explain. So, when people say something, like, and I see something and I see somebody hurting, I immediately get concerned because I know. How do I put this? So, a while back, we had a guy in our community, and his name was Garbwire, and he was a super cool dude, and he died. Right? Nothing we could do about it. But when it happened, like, all the little things you think about that they said were like, yeah, you're going to do this for them, and then you didn't do, or you never got around to doing, and then they're just gone. And it's like this hole that can't be filled. I don't want that, if that makes sense. So I want to make sure that everything is complete. Does that make sense? Kind of. Like, everything is all lined up. All lined up. So that's why I'm always worried about that. And that's why I'm always so bossy with you guys about not texting and driving. Because none of you are going to disappear. You know what I mean? Or, well, you know what I mean. Like, if you're going to leave the community, you're going to leave the community. That's preferable to whatever.
No, they won't disappear. They don't have the option.
Yes, but that's why it's incredibly important that you guys take good care of yourself. If you're sick, don't go to work. You know, treat yourself well. Make sure you rest. Make sure you stay hydrated in bed. Because it's very, 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 very important to me, selfishly, that you don't do anything, because I can't handle that happening again. I can't deal with that. And it's selfish, I know, but I am going to demand that you do this just little thing for me. You don't always have to always donate stuff, right? Because enough of you do. But if I could just ask one thing, it'd be to just take some consideration for yourself. It's not yandere. This is selfish, I know. But it's what it is.
That's the opposite of yonder, I think.
Yeah. Don't want to talk about this anymore because it makes me feel weird. But you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
There's Sinistro. Where have you been? You're late. I don't know why. It's been a while since I've seen you. Lurkerfish. Lurkerfish.
More people need, like, hard to pronounce names, so Kibbs is like, there is.
If we're becoming mechs, can I become a Stinger LAM? Oh my god. Jeff is retarded. Jeff for sure. I'm hungry though, and I need to eat one of you. Don't have any fish.
No.
Oh, I have buffalo
Show
chicken.
already claimed dibs on chatfish for food.
That little gremlin. I can't said the word I shouldn't say.
Goblin.
She's not allowed to do that. She worked for me. I'm the boss of her. She draws pictures for money. That's how it should be. She makes a little scribble on paper. I hand her dollars. And she screams, I love America. I love America.
I already loved America before I got dollars, and I loved it even more after I got dollars. It was a love that. Thank God I'm not a fish.
You're all chatfish, not a fish. You know why? Because you can't leave. You're stuck in a bucket. He just like starts swimming around. He's like, oh shit. Oh shit. I had a weird dream the other night about you guys being real again as chatfish, and I just had to keep my patio door closed because you guys would keep trying to like sneak out whenever I'd open the door, like cats or something. Like, no, stay. And they just look up and be like, whoa. To like kick you back.
I had a dream that, weirdly enough, like ties in the video game preservation thing that we're talking about.
What's that?
I was trying really hard in my dream to convince a guy to release Nintendo 64 games for a computer. And I was using Banjo-Kazooie as an example and showing like, look at how good the colors are, how cool, how good it looks. And I looked at this shitty, and I pointed at some like, it was some modern game, and look how shitty this is, and look at the colors, and I kept trying to show like the colors for some reason.
That's because you're evil, Beano. You're an evil little Beano, and all Beanos must die. Damn. Beano. Damn. I'm opening up GOG real quick.
Leave everyone here eventually.
No, not Patso. So I'm gonna open up GOG real quickly. Now, there's many ways to preserve video games, right? We can preserve old games via this method, where we just put them up on a storefront and you can just buy them. And GOG is a great thing to support, and I do advocate for supporting GOG, not CD Projekt Red, because I don't really agree with CD Projekt Red, right? But I do think that GOG should be advocated for. And honestly, I wish CD... Okay, so you want to know my real fucking hot take? I kind of wish CD Projekt Red would distance, or not distance, but like stop stealing resources from GOG and just kind of not die per se, but like get separated. Because I don't want a studio to die because people work there and stuff. But I do say stuff like that when I get mad. I know. But the big thing is that I don't actually want them to die. I just want them to go away from GOG. Because I think good old games could be the best method to preserve most old games and movie licensed single player games. And then we just need good old games. If they could just expand, they could maybe host old servers for MMOs. MMOs like Star Wars The Old Republic, right? Because Star Wars The Old Republic, which literally just got an update again, or gets updates all the time because community managing, it's always active, right? It's not the biggest MMO, but it's like, could you imagine if this disappears? Like, Star Wars The Old Republic is one of those games I'm very much worried about disappearing. This MMO is probably one of my favorite MMOs of all time. Not because it's an MMO, by the way. It sucks as an MMO. It's actually a terrible MMO. What makes Star Wars The Online, and I also hate the art style, by the way, but what makes it good is its actual story and like quests and stuff, and like it's just got so much in it. It's basically like the only piece of like Star Wars that I really care about that's still actively ongoing at the moment.
Is also one of the... Isn't one of those that like people play most of single player also?
It's basically single player. Like there are raids and dungeons, but you can play them in single player because you can get NPC companions to go with you, if I remember right. You can play this entire MMO for the most part single player. And for the most part, 90% of it is played single player. It's one of those games. But when the servers go down, my big worry is that it's going to disappear. Now, Broadsword, I know, has taken over work for BioWare here, because I think BioWare moved off this project and is now consolidated. Because BioWare put this together. Broadsword, I think, is the guys in charge of basically maintaining it, and they're just maintaining it and keeping it running. To be honest, I'm not so confident. The latest expansions for it aren't very good, in my opinion. But I don't care about that. Because a lot of the old content is still worth playing, and it's pretty good. Yeah, Star Wars The Old Republic is basically the last supported thing of Star Wars Legends. You're actually right, Sinistro. He's actually nailed it on the head. Oh, God. Not a fish. Oh, torture me by saying that. Get GOG to have Mech Warrior, the entire Mech Warrior collection, and Mech Commanders. That'd be golden. GOG needs so much. There's so much. We should do a stream where we just talk about... We should make like a list that we focus on as a community to upvote. And we like try to militarize, you know.
My God.
Little Chatfish tanks like roll out of factories. It's like, you do realize that if you spend that money on like, you know, something, you gotta say... But yeah, Star Wars The Old Republic is kind of... Sinistro's kind of really right in the way he says that. It's actually, I think, pretty spot on. This is the last element of old Star Wars, and when this goes offline, that's it. It's gone. Because this is the only bit of Star Wars that isn't really affected by Disney anymore, because it's all based on the old Legends lore. Once it's gone, that's the last of Legends getting content, in my opinion.
This is basically the last bastion, like the. You know those memes in movies about this is the last frontier, like this is the last bastion of humankind. Like this is unironic, that meme.
Want Golden? Add Mech Assault to that list. Grabs him, throws him out the window. What about the Mech? What about Mech Warrior for the Sega Genesis? It's kind of weird. It was like a top down. It was like sort of like Desert Strike a little bit. Welcome, Stream Carpet DM. Hope you're doing good. He's mad. Catfish Tanks, we can make that happen. Tanks, welcome back. And SWTOR, what I liked about SWTOR, says Fafner, was that you could do the majority of the game in single player. Also, I chose to off a lot of imps as the agent. Yes, you can play the entire game for the most part in single player, despite it being MMO. You can do the entire story content and like world content for the most part in single player, save for like the raids, if I remember right, or the PvP content. That obviously requires people. I'm not a big fan of the overall gameplay of SWTOR. It just feels kind of like a watered down World of Warcraft, to be honest. But I do like the stories, and that's what really made me interested in it as a whole. It always had like this high like production value, and I kind of wish. I don't know if I necessarily want it to get more development, if that makes sense. Because if it gets more development, like as in like a big expansion, like eventually then Disney is going to get involved. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it's kind of niche and forgotten is kind of the reason why it's safe at the moment. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I get it. Star Wars itself, like, it because it was popular, it had such a big target on its back.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's even easier if you have the CD box set. Most of my Star Wars games are on CDs or DVDs. That's true. I almost own, not every Star Wars game, but I own a lot of them on CD and boxes and stuff. Almost all of the, like, 6th gen and up. 5th gen, I'm very spotty on. There was a lot that I don't own there. I got, like, Battle for Naboo and, like, Star Wars Jedi Battles. I had a demo disc for Demolition, which was kind of like a weird, twisted metal Star Wars game. It was fucking weird. And then I also have Pod Racer for the N64 and Shadows of the Empire, if I recollect correctly. And something else. Oh, yes. That weird fucking rail shooter for the PlayStation 1. I have those too. Those were weird. But they were... I don't really have an opinion on them, honestly. I can't remember them other than being, like, feeling like I was on a fever dream. Good luck at work, Chumpus, and hopefully your power's fixed. Oh man, I remember Demolition. Yeah, I remember that one too. The vehicles get like banged up and stuff. Apparently the Dreamcast version was superior, and I didn't even know that existed. It like went right over my head. But this is what I mean about video game preservation. God, we really should, like, the two subjects we should definitely talk about for video game preservation should be old PC games that are movie licensed, right? Live service games. And then the other type of argument for preservation is old console games that have been forgotten. Console exclusives. Crackdown 1 and Crackdown 2. Those are some relatively recent ones, right? Or Mercenaries Playground of Destruction. That's not on PC. There are so many, like, console exclusives that are just stuck. Even big name ones like Killzone or Resistance, bigger IPs, if you want to talk about them, that aren't on PC. You can play them through emulation, but there's always problems there. And it's not the safest way to play those games, or the most optimal. What we need is some sort of optimal way to experience these old games again. And let's not also forget about Xbox Live or PlayStation Store games, right? Fat Princess. Fistful of Cake. Just a fistful of cake. That's one that's definitely missing, right? That's why I want to stop killing the SKG movement. Let's just abbreviate it, because saying the full name is going to make me have an aneurysm. I want it to succeed more than anything, because if it succeeds, that's step one in saving more games. Scott Ross being able to save his games means we're one step closer to being able to save mine. Most of the games he wants preserved, I don't really care about. But it doesn't matter if I care about them or not. If his games can be saved, then so can ours. So can mine, so can Not a Fish, so can all the MechWarrior games for Not a Fish. You know, all the other games, you know, maybe Area 51, those weird Midway games, you guys remember? Like the rail shooter one, or the Xbox one, or the weird 360 one. Maybe those could be saved too and preserved. Blacklight Tango Down and Blacklight Retribution were both enjoyable.
Blacklight Retribution, that wakes nostalgia in me. That was a nice game with a nice twist, nice shooter.
I heard of those games. I've never played them.
Good. Basically, you didn't have a minimap. You had like a wall hack where you activated it, but you couldn't shoot, and you saw where everyone was. But also the gunplay was amazing because you could customize everything on the gun. Like you choose a receiver, you could choose the stock, the barrel, the muzzle, the magazine, and the scope. And that's decided how much your spread was. Like a lot of min-maxing, basically, but many things were viable. It was a nice, like I said, nice game.
Yep. Sorry, I was just clearing my throat because I had to listen something in it. I wasn't trying to like blow past you or anything. Beals Quill says, I am so lucky that Battle for Middle-earth has such a strong community. Yes, we are fortunate that usually the Sage Engine games or the Command & Conquer games on the Sage Engine have a very good amount of community built around it in terms of preserving them. The only one of the Sage Engine games I'm aware of that kind of got left to the wayside is poor, sad little Emperor Battle for Dune. That's also because it's kind of one of those games that wasn't quite finished, so it doesn't get a lot of love in terms of preservation. But it gets enough because it is attached to the Sage Engine that there is a DG Voodoo version on mybetaware.com. You can download it, it's packaged, and it'll just run out the box. So at least there's that, because that's how I got mine working. Because my discs don't work. My disc readers won't read it. Because the discs have DRM, or not DRM, but they have anti-piracy software on it that is so fucking decrepit that it makes it unreadable. Like for installations and like running them. This is why, as a former anti-piracy agent, I'm such a massive advocate for non-interference in terms of like piracy protection measures. Like companies, you want to have anti-piracy agents? Yes. Should you have anti-piracy protection? Yes, you should. But you do not need DRM. You do not need something on the product. All that does is make the product inferior. Okay? You need to not do that. All you need is to hire an agency where it has an agent go around and cleans up the internet for you. And can be your PR representative to avoid PR disasters so that you don't use copyright abuse, which happens all the time. That's what agencies are for. Like, oh my god. Everyone wants to automate it, and the automation of piracy has literally led to the biggest disaster in terms of piracy abuse and NDA abuse in human history, mind you. And it's still an ongoing fucking fire right now. Music being taken down when it's technically fair use, like come the fuck on. What is a piracy agent's, what's the goal of an anti-piracy agency? Their goal is to avoid PR disasters. You know why? Because if it is actually flagrant abuse, they can contact the person, they can look at it, they can investigate each issue case by case scenario. That's how it has to be done. You're not going to cure it with a one-time switch. All you're going to do is make things worse. Pisses me off. Go old school, lock information manuals. Don't do that either. That's bad. The reason why that's bad is now that punishes people for used games. Like, I have a ton of used games where I bought them, or my dad got them for me. Total Annihilation, he bought used, and it came in, like, little paper cases, right? Now, fortunately, there was no manual or box with it, but that's not fortunate, unfortunately, but it means that it didn't have a manual CD key, so I didn't have to worry about that. It just required the 2 discs. That's what I remember about the Total Annihilation game. That's one thing that I'm super duper big on. Because even that is an anti-piracy measure, is still bad, because now it's punishing people for buying used games. That wasn't good either. The reality is the only anti-piracy measure you should take is you just hire an agency to patrol the web. That's it. And then you kind of just have to settle with the fact that you're never going to stop piracy. You just can't. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can treat it, you can make it more difficult, and that's good enough. I don't know why I have to always, I feel like I've said this 1,000 times, but the industry never gets it. I don't know why, if I feel like I have to repeat myself, somehow that'll make the industry listen. It doesn't work that way. I know in the back of my mind, but if it reaches somebody that could listen, that could actually try this method, they will save so much money, and they will be so much happier when they do it. You will be. Just drop it. Drop the fucking DRM stuff. I'm just trying to help you. Oh my god. It's not even my job anymore. I just want you to do the bare minimum. Just
want to help you help yourself.
Literally, I'm trying to help you help yourself. That's all I'm doing. And in the process, I am selfish. I do gain something from this. I gain better games that run better, but you also gain as well. You're not wasting money on these things. You're not getting bad PR. There's so many solutions, so many problems. If they would just talk.
You're not paying an anti-piracy AI that's actually like 30 Indians. Just like pretending to be an AI.
Same thing.
What's always funny about those.
Yeah, they did like an AI like that.
Not entirely surprising. I'm not trying to rob you. I'm trying to help you. Yes, to quote Gandalf. That's very true. I'm just trying to impart good advice onto the industry. Advice that I know works, without a doubt. Not only do I know it works, but it is literally the only way to deal with it. And it's stressful because it's the only way to not solve the issue, but treat the issue. And that's what you gotta understand. You're never gonna stop piracy. Okay, let's establish that together. Piracy will always happen. It's just a natural occurrence. However, you can treat it. And treating it is twofold. They're multifaceted technique. First step, make your product easier to buy and runs really good the way it is. Well, of course, people are going to want to download and buy the real thing. You know why? They don't want to run the risk of getting viruses and malware. Not everybody's got like gobs of antivirus software. It's always a risk even when you download from abandonware sites. That's why I want to get things... That's why I'm trying to get video game preservation to become mainstream, right? Because if we do, then in order to emulate or play games, you'll just be able to just do it. And you'll be able to buy it through a clean and safe method, eliminating the amount of piracy. The urge to Yarhar is strong? Yes. People will pirate because people like doing that. You're not going to convince them. But what you will convince is the casual pirater, which is the vast majority of people. The vast majority of people are fat and lazy. And it's true that you just are. We're just lazy. It's just easier to do it a certain way. We're going to do it a certain way. If there's a friggin', box of chocolate chip cookies on the table and it's free, you're going to grab the box of chocolate chip cookies. And I'm not even going to blame you. You want the cookies. You want to eat them. Don't lie. You need them. You need them. That's okay, Frederick. We appreciate your support. Always helps. Of course I'm going to turn to piracy for the better experience. Yes, exactly. Which is why it's important to make sure that the pirated version isn't better than yours. The step one in doing that is literally just not putting any bullshit in your game. By doing that, you will already have won step one. Step two, make it harder to find. Simple. Google search and search removals. Step three, clean up some of the easy to clean up pirate sites so that there are just fewer of them around. Step four, then put some actual effort into actually cleaning up some of the torrent links. That's not impossible. It can be done. It's just a nightmare. It's an active, ongoing process. It requires working with different companies and organizations like Interpol, the FBI, and the like. And they'll only investigate it at a certain threshold because I've worked with these people, and that's kind of how they work. FBI's like, is that like $1 bajillion? Nope. Okay, we're not going to help. It's like, oh, good. I'm glad my taxpayer dollars go to a company that doesn't help with anything, or an organization that doesn't do anything. That has the power to help me as a piracy agent enforce these basic U.S. laws. Basic U.S. laws. Worthless. Worthless. Beals the Quill donates 5 memberships. Think of the 5 memberships. That's a nice picture.
Which
Little Borgums.
seems to be broken. Also, I need to know your currency, Beals Quill.
I sense that Beals Quills donated in USD through the power of telepathy. I don't actually know that. I'm just guessing. Just guessing. I think YouTube's broken.
Yeah, rip memberships.
That's too much effort, Kibbs. Get on the malware instead. No, that's the job of anti-piracy agents. Once you hire an agency, they'll handle all of that for you, right? Like, if somebody uploads a video with a torrent link of a fucking thing, you know what we usually do for that? We usually just have them, like, if it's a big, like, channel or whatever, we would actually, so back in the day, we'd message them, be like, hey, can you, like, pull this down? Because we're going to give you a warning so that you have a chance to save your channel and your, thing, so you don't lose all your stuff. And if you ignore it, then we're going to have to do something. Because guess what that does? It removes the PR factor. The only thing that they can get mad at is themselves for not reading or ignoring the warning. That's what the benefit of having an agency is. No PR disasters and human interfacing. I'll never get through to them. They'll never understand. Peerhead gives $50 and says, for the kids' streak fund. The kids' streak fund? The what? What's a streak fund? Thank you for the nation, Peerhead.
I don't know.
I think autocorrect. For the kids' streak. Peerhead, thank you for the nation. Also, make sure to get your ranks on the Discord server, Peerhead. I don't think you've ever donated before, but I can't remember off the top of my head. You little frog emote.
Can you say in chat what you mean?
Yeah, he'll type it. He's listening. Just watch him for any taste. I played a little bit of years back. What? Sounds fishy. It does. I use American dollar, says Beals Quill. All right. Thank you for telling us. That helps us know for tracking reasons. We track the amount of revenue we generate so that we only push goals. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but so we have a method of how we make money, and I'll just tell you guys because honesty is important. So usually I try to have our guests push goals, right? And the reason why we do that is so that we make the daily goals so they can fund the studio and stay operational, right? And then usually, if there's like a big donor war, we'll push it harder because, okay, if people are really liking this, then we can get a surplus, which is always good. But usually we have them calm down afterwards. So once we make our daily, and that's why we stop pushing as hard after we make the daily. And the reason being is because I don't want to take more than we really need, just want to make sure we operate. What we need is already a lot as is, you know? It is. And the worst part is that it's because of inflation, I'm going to have to make it go up if we're not careful. That's why we really need to hustle. Get some shit moving, because I really don't want that to go higher than 412. I'm already mad that it's above 400. Splunk Jammer gives some membership. Thank you for the gift of membership. Oh, just don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. We'll think about it later. Don't think about numbers. Numbers stress me out. Numbers stress me out. Numbers make me mad. All right, so back to video game preservation and piracy, right? Piracy is not a bad thing either. It's a natural occurrence that happens. It's a treatable thing. You were never going to stop it. And the way you should try to view it, if you're listening to me and you're a developer, or for whatever reason, I doubt you are, or like a big executive person who can actually make decisions and stuff, like, it's one of those things that is important to solve, but it should be solved in a way that is not, what's the word? Not solving, but treating it. That's how you should look at it. It's treatment. Because you're never going to get rid of it, and there's only one way to really handle it. And that's to handle it in a noble way. The reason why you handle it in a noble way is because you look good doing it. And not only you look good doing it, but nobody hates you for it. So being that people will buy your stuff anyways, and now you'll have positive PR. And all you really lost was a little bit of money on an agency rather than a lot of money with a DRM company or a company with that DRM shit. And now you lost a lot of money because now a lot of people aren't going to buy your stuff out of spite because people do think this way and nobody listens. You guys are listening. I know you are, but I'm just remembering when talking to other developers because I try to explain this, but little things actually do matter, right? How do I explain this? Like, for example, little selling points. We had a conversation about this when we were working on our game this morning. But like, I was telling Robin about, like, people won't buy games if it's a little thing. Like, can you do this like weird save thing? Can I run multiple campaigns at the same time? If you can't, you've lost a sale right there. People are artistic. They're fixated on certain things. If you don't do certain quality of life functions, they're not going to like it. Can you not skip the animations or cutscenes? No, I'm not going to buy it. And that's again a lost sale. So you try to solve all these little tiny questions. And it may seem like pointless, frivolous things, developers, but it's important that we do them because to us it may seem small, but to them it's a big deal. And so it does matter. Being able to have multiple saves is important. Being able to have, auto saves is important. Being able to, mod your game is important because it wins people over in the end. Being able to, or you don't even need to make mod tools. You don't even make editor tools. You can just have the game not be locked, and so they can tweak the files. Let them do that. Don't, unless it's like a PvP multiplayer thing, then don't let them do that, because then they'll cheat and then they'll ruin the experience for everyone else. Yes, of course. But for single player things and non-egregious or offensive things that aren't really affecting the gameplay and ruining the experience for other people, if it's not hurting anybody, don't do anything about it. Don't bother that. And then don't push things and do little details, add sound control. I know this is weird. It's only a recent thing as it becomes the standard, but sound control, master volume, sound effects, music, these little details, you'll lose sales by it. Bindable keys, have it. Have all of it. It may seem like a long chore list, but those will get you sales. A fucking color blindness, you'd be surprised how many people have color blindness of some type. Have color blindness options. We've already started looking into how to do that for our game, right? Accessibility is not a bad thing. Accessibility means that people can experience the game and can play it now, right? Because, maybe the colorblind not going to be able to see certain things. So you need to factor that in so that they can enjoy the game too, so you can get more sales. DMs are deal breakers for you? Yes, exactly. See, that's what I mean. Midnight Ninja, you're a case in point of what I'm talking about. And people don't believe me sometimes, or they're like, it doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, when I talk to other developer people, they just don't care about anybody because they're so hyper fixated, because they too have fixations, just like the players do. They get fixated on this one thing, and it's that's the only thing that matters, and that's gonna sell the game. It's like, no, it's not. You need to do everything. Everything needs to be done. Not one thing, all of it. We have a legacy of games and history of games that exist before us. Learn from them and improve. Field of view sliders? Exactly. FOV. It's a bane in old games still. Playing the Killzone games? Oh my god. Motion blur, film grain, and FOV. And Jesus Christ, I hate that shit. Jesus Christ. You know what I mean?
I don't even know why some of them put it in the game.
Because it's a popular trend thing. Because somebody will like it, right? So the reality is if you have to have motion blur in your game and it's going to have it, make it a switch. The reason why is so that some people can have it and some people not. Now, the reason why I think motion blur, if I remember right, was originally implemented was to simulate fast movement in a game that you couldn't move fast. So it was to give the veneer that you're moving a lot faster than you really were, right? It's why in sprinting, they sort of blur the edges of your screen and not the center. The reason why they do that is so that you can see where you're going clearly, but it looks like you're moving faster. In reality, you're not. Just like when artillery shells land next to you in Helldivers 2, you can flip that off, and it's called screen shake. The reason why that is whoa, is the idea is okay, boom, that's a big explosion. Now your screen shakes because it's a big boom. It's a big Don't you feel the impact of that? And to a degree, that does actually have an impact, but that can create motion sickness. And there goes people who have motion sickness. My dad suffers from motion sickness, and he's a big gamer. He loves video games. But he only plays RTSs or he doesn't play World of Warcraft anymore, but he used to play a lot. And the reason why is because the camera would be locked, and because the camera was locked and steady, he wouldn't get motion sickness. But anytime there was bobbing up and down, you would get motion sickness because it would shake the camera in a way that was unnatural. So yeah, you may have made a sim game that's super immersive or whatever, but make the head bobbing an option, because people get motion sickness, and when they get motion sickness, they can't play the game. And I know because I remember playing games with my dad, And he could only play certain games with me or for like a little bit, and then he'd have to stop. And then he would physically have to go lay down because he had a fucking migraine. But he would play games with me to the point where he'd have migraines. And like, as a kid, I would always be like, oh, like play more with me. Like, I want to keep playing with you, Dad. But like, not really realizing that he's having fucking horrible migraines because of that shit, you know? And it's only like later as I grew up, I'm like, wait a minute, that's fucking awful. Like, no, we're gonna just play games that don't make you fucking sick. You know? And that's the reason why I think about stuff like that. Because I've had to deal with it and see what it does to people. So that's why you shouldn't have head bob force. That's why you shouldn't have motion blur force. It should be an option. You can put it in an option so people that want it can have it, but also make it an option so it can be turned off, you know? So people can have that, so people can play those games. Because my dad can't play shooters anymore, and I know he loved playing shooters. He loved playing Doom. He loved playing TIE Fighter. His favorite games, you know? He can't play them anymore because of like things like motion blur and bobbing up and down. The head bobbing and the movement just makes him nauseous, so he can't play him anymore. And so he just gave up playing him. And I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to have a fucking migraine every time I played a video game. I couldn't imagine that. I hope to God I never do experience that. But it's one of those things. I remember he tried all sorts of like things. Even like wristbands that were supposed to be like to create pressure and that somehow would help you. Didn't work. But that's the big thing. It's important to talk about these things because accessibility is related to preservation because it allows people to experience things. Everything is actually integral and tied together. I mean, this podcast is more just about video games as a whole and making sure that video games are playable for everyone, right? My mom has those same problems, Gibbs. She loves survival games, but can only play them for a limited time due to motion sickness. Yeah. Motion sickness sucks. Some people get it. Like, they can only play certain games. That's why RTSs were like the only game my dad ever plays. Because it's a fixed camera in a locked position, so he doesn't have to worry about it bouncing up and down and like wiggling around all weird like. So he can just play it. Like in certain games, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, terrible game for that. I love that game, I enjoy it, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is camera is designed in a way to be anti-motion sickness. Like, it's just wibbling around all the time unnaturally when you swing your sword. There should be options, and I know modders have actually stepped into the field here, and they're actually the saviors of this, because they usually create mods that are for helping with motion sickness. I don't know if they ever did for Kingdom Come Deliverance, but not that I think that's
maybe
something.
it's a big game. It's a big game.
Don't think that game's in my dad's interest anyways. He likes more like sci-fi stuff. Let's see. Now, every racing game tries to shove motion blur. And yes, to simulate the blur thing. Burnout did that, and I love Burnout, but motion blur is annoying. Like, motion blur just means I can't see things. It's like depth of field, right? It's like everything around is blurry except for the thing you're looking at to create a cinematic experience. I don't care about that. I want my peripheral vision. I can't see the sniper because he's blurry. Now I just got shot in the head. Just... If you make old games playable, you won't buy a new slot? Not true. Not true in the slightest. The vast majority of players won't buy old games because they're not interested. And that's okay. No, my Tartan can't program in my life. That's true. Absolutely true. That's why accessibility options should be encouraged to be put into the games themselves. Putting them in the game is a good idea so that everybody gets it. Film grain off, DOF off, motion blur off. Yeah, pretty much. Visionette off. Like, let's make this edge of your screen black. Well, why? And why? Just goofy decisions in developers that have these things. And I get that some people want film grain because maybe it helps cover things up. It's like old games, right? So pixel art started as a crutch, right?
Respect.
And it was also designed for CRT TVs and monitors, which had these like little gaps in between so that they would sort of fill in when they were designed. But when upscaled into HD now, pixel art of old games, of like Super Nintendo games now, looks worse now than it did back then because it was specifically designed with that monitor in mindset. There is programs and software and even modes now created to try to simulate that effect on modern monitors, and it helps to a degree, but it's never going to be perfect to the old CRT method. And that's one of those things. Now, low-res art, as I'll call it now, because that's what it's often called in the artistic community, is very much designed with that in method and in mind. And our game is actually designed with that in mind now, because it's become its own art style. Before it was a crutch. Now it's its own style. It's like low poly art as well. Low poly games are a thing. Low poly games can do things that high poly games can't, right? If SWTOR looked like this cutscene, it would run at 10 frames per second, and you could have 1 or 2 people on screen at a time. And it would run like ass for a lot of people. But if you use lower res models with lower polygon counts and lower res textures, for the most part, like these, you can see the little smudging, this game will run a little bit better for people. Because having high polygons, it's the texture method, right? The texture on the armor does most of the armor's visual effects. It's all in the texture work. MMOs do this a lot so that more people can run the game, right? Helldivers 2 is a low poly game that is stylized to be very stylistic. This covers the fact that the textures aren't the highest and the polys aren't the highest either, so they can have a higher count of enemies. Because I have a high-end rig, I can run on max, and you'll notice, and if you watch our streams, if you look closely at enemies that further away, they have lower poly models at different distances, and then the polys expand as they get closer. This method is to help make sure that it runs better, so that it deloads and reloads assets. Our game does this, too. When you're playing our game, when our game is one day playable, you'll notice that the camera, when you move around, like everything's loaded. But in reality, what's actually happening is when you move the camera away from a certain area of the map and looking at a different area of different part with different characters on it, is those characters that you didn't see are actually deloaded. Their spots are saved, but they're deloaded, even in combat, right? So that you don't have to have that on the memory because it's not loaded. And then when you move your camera back over there, it reloads them, and then it loads back in all the effects that are on them. It saves it, but puts it in a little storage compartment, because if it's all rendering at the same time, your game's going to run like potato. This will keep the game running smoothly so that there's no lag, for the most part. Unless you're actually running a real potato, then it probably will not work. For real potato. I was reluctant to upgrade to a LCD display because games looked smoother than on my Trinitron monitor. Release date 2111? I know. It feels like that, but that's what it's like being an indie. That's the big thing about becoming independent, is realizing that, yes, you don't have the funding of a AA or a AAA, and you kind of have to work with whatever you have in your pocket. And everybody in the team makes sacrifices. But at the same time, you have freedom. I don't know how to describe it, Sinistro. But it's like, I can do what I want to do in my dream passion project. And I don't have to worry about somebody coming in and be like, no, you can't do that, or that's offensive. Why aren't there enough, like, blank characters in here? Nope, you can't have that character. Nope, that's racist. Nope, you can't do that. I don't want to be told that. I'm not going to be told that. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and if people find it offensive, good. I'm glad it evoked emotion. That's interesting. If it upsets you, that's an interesting emotion to have. Now, hopefully it's upsetting you because what happens is horrible, maybe, or something like that. Not that you're upset because, you don't like it. But games that evoke emotion in this way are good things, right? It's like, oh my god, like when playing Helldivers 2 and seeing all the crazy shit happen on screen, it's like a fucking movie every time. It always manages to be somehow a unique cinematic display.
Yeah.
Kevin says, God, I love racism. My game has so much of that. You have no idea. You have no idea. There's no way a publisher would greenlight my lord. And you know what? If you don't like that kind of stuff and you don't want to consume it, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to buy it. But if you like that stuff, then I'm your guy. Wink. I will make my own game with blackjack and hookers. I remember volumetric fog was a selling point for video cards 20 years ago. Yep. Don't call me Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima, I have disagreements with certain ideas of him. But this is, again, personal. If you like his games, there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, it's more than fine to like his games. I just disagree with the idea of trying to make video games into movies because, like, it's not the point of it being a movie. I feel like Hideo Kojima is more like a failed director who's got stuck making video games and hates making video games. But that's just me, and that's my opinion. And it might be wrong, and I don't care, but that's my opinion. And I let you know what it is, because that's my job to tell you what I think. Okay. Good. Make racism good again. I'm trying. Hard. It's very expensive to do that. Not enough fantasy racism anymore. Where's my anti-beast racism in Windhelm Skyrim? Where's the abundant racism in Cyrodiil? That's true. Yeah, no, that's what makes cultures interesting, right? Like cultures, it's like racism is how do I put it? As like an idea is actually a fascinating and an interesting concept. Not like real like world stuff. I'm talking about like fantasy stuff, right? What it does is it makes more for colorful characters with more interesting and unique visions, right? Because they're diametrically opposed, they don't like them, right? Because they're so different, there's more you can do there narratively, and the differences between each culture can be more interesting. I enjoy Kojima's handling. Well, I'm glad you do, little ghost. Death Stranding 2 looks great without ray tracing and runs close to 60 FPS. I'm glad you like it. I just don't like rocking sims, but I'm glad you're having a good time. Racism is a tool for good storytelling. It is a tool. Much like anything. There are too many failed movie guys in game development. That's true. Sometimes they can come up with some interesting ideas, and sometimes certain people failed not necessarily because they were bad, but because circumstances were incorrect. Will there be a froggy chair reference in your game? God willing, no. God willing.
Will there be a rapier in the froggy chair reference?
I don't want to put, like, references to outside things in my game. I want my game to be sincere. There might be like little achievements and Easter eggs, but to trigger them will require you to jump through hoops. I'm going to make that.
That's for the movie guys and fucking gaming. A lot of those guys are the writers, and they're often the people who make walking sims or interactive movies, essentially. If you look at if you want an example, look at David Cage.
I've heard so much about him, but I've never played any of his games.
You need to play Two Souls. It's so fucking bad. It's so pretentious in all of the best ways.
David Cage is often the other comparison to Hideo Kojima I often hear. Is that they're not the same, obviously, but they're similar mindsets. Neil Druckmann, also similar mindset. Not the same person, by the way. I'm saying that they are similar in the sense that they want to make gaming a cinematic experience. Their overarching goals are similar. I need to clarify that because otherwise people are going to be like, what? You think they're literally the same? No. I'm saying similar goals.
Of the three of them, I think Kojima is probably the best of those three that you listed.
Yes, I think so as well. Because David Cage seems, like, from what I've seen, seems pretentious. The other guy, Neil Druckmann. He's just really fucking mean as a person. Like, I just can't understand.
He's a rancid person.
I can't understand that. Like, the original writer, who was a woman, which is ironic that he's so fucking one of those types, right? Wrote the Last of Us story. I don't like The Last of Us, by the way. I dislike it. I think it's boring. But
there was two other guys that also worked on it.
That's true. That's true.
Names.
Yep. Normally
there was like 4 writers in total.
I mean, most stories
big
are
writers anyway.
But either way. So the big thing here is that they wrote that story, and that was their story, and that's their work. I don't really care for it, but it's not about what I like and what I don't like. It's their story, right? Neil Druckmann comes along and basically pisses and shits all over that story, and then pollutes it and distorts it into like a perversion of it by insulting all of them, by basically destroying and degrading all the things they had created in a ritualistic fashion. I don't care if they had ever wronged them or whatever. You just don't do that on an artistic level because it's just sickening, right? It's like, for example, Frank Herbert and Brian Herbert. Frank Herbert wrote Dune. Brian Herbert is Frank Herbert's son. He's basically picked up his father's legacy and tried his best to continue it to the best of his ability. And yes, he just couldn't, like, it was not a mantle that was easy to hold up. He did the hard thing of trying to carry on his father's work. It was hard. And in a way, in some areas he succeeded, in some areas he failed, you know? But you could see that his son wanted and loved his father and wanted to carry on his legacy, right? Adverse to what Neil Druckmann did with Last of Us Part 2, where it's ritualistic in terms of hatred. Ritualistic, by what I mean by that, Stone Age, is I mean in the sense that it parades it like a goat. Like when you play Life is Strange Part 2, there are scenes in that game.
Part 2.
Yeah, that's what, or not.
comparable.
Sorry, whatever. Last of Us Part 2. These games blur together. They're bad games blur together. So when you play it, the way they execute Joel's character is done in a ritualistic way. The character is drawn out. It's slow and agonizing. But at first you're like, okay, maybe this is an artistic choice for this particular scene to make it emotional. But then this is repeated time and time again with everything that was pre-established in the previous work of the previous game, with each character being ritualistically dragged out, hauled out to the slow sacrifice before being killed off and thrown away. And then Ellie's character dragged out and being sacrificed and then thrown away. And again, repeated the same methodology. This, to me, as a writer, shows me a meticulous, high-level hatred. This isn't something that's written with passion or care. There's hatred in this. Like, as a writer, when you consume that media, and even as a consumer, you can feel it too, can't you guys? You can feel it in the work. I know you guys do. Like, you can feel that.
You can tell when a writer
hatred there
is writing something they either love or fucking despise.
It's what I don't like. It's why I don't like Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I know some people like it, but like it's just this fucking long. Like the second book was the worst. Like fucking talking and talking on and on about like how this is how this works and how this is how that works and how that has to work that way. Almost like a lecture is what it comes across about like chaos theory and evolution, and that systems of control will inevitably fail because no system of control can predict nature, right? And it's like, okay, I get it. Like, nature will always find a way around certain thresholds, but we are a part of nature too. This is one thing that Michael Crichton sort of kind of misses, at least in part of the book. I don't know if he later addresses it, because I stopped reading the second book. I just couldn't stand it. But it was like, eventually humans will find a way, because we are an extension of nature. People always try to disassociate humanity as not being a part of nature. We are just as violent and destructive and as polluting as nature. Nature itself is polluting as well and destructive. But the only difference is we are nature's champions in my philosophical mindset, because we will spread life to other worlds for nature as this like identity, as this entity, right? Not realizing that nature's not really an entity, but life as a whole. Because as we spread it across the stars, we are pollinating the cosmos with life. And thus, we are the champion of that creation. We will take life to places it should never have gone before and bring it there. Crazy Templar has gifted Munmunps. Let's open it up. I know this is a bit of a tangent. This is a podcast. On Bunchcast, we do podcasts. I like this. It's comfortable, relaxing. Crazy Templar $20 said, who is worse, the cake that walks or Neil Druckmann? The cake that walks is, you're referring to an author who I have a lot of disagreements with, but I actually respect. What's his name? H.R.R. Martin. G.R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin. I disagree with a lot of his work, and I dislike a lot of things, his philosophical opinions, but I respect his work and the amount of work he put into it. The big thing about George R.R. Martin is one of those people who didn't hate what he did, but rather he got so caught up in his work that he began to hate it by the end of it. I don't know if any of you follow this, and I know it's weird, but I have been following it closely. Morbid curiosity as one writer to another. But it was, I found myself almost not on the like verge of tears, but like genuinely kind of upset when I was reading about how he had grown to hate his own work, or not necessarily hate his own work, but not want to work on it anymore like, because he had just become so detached by it, because it had grown out of control, right? And the TV show exacerbated that, and a bunch of other things exacerbated that. There's a lot of reasons as to why that came to be, but it's one of those things where it was sad to witness, because you could see that the passion he had had for something he loved was gone. He didn't want to finish The Winds of Winter, and the reason why was because it just felt like no matter what he did, it wouldn't go well. And in a way, I think that's kind of true. There is no way to truly tie that up, because too many mistakes are made on the way, and you're just kind of fucked. And he's kind of stuck in that position, and like everybody wants him to finish it. And it's one of those things, like, if he finishes it, you know, he'll be degraded like some sort of like animal, you know, brought out for slaughter. And I just find that detestable. And that's what human nature is, because humans are so easy to do this. And I even catch myself doing it too, because I'm too am human. I too am flawed. Like, I don't want Hideo Kojima to fail. I don't want George R. R. Martin to fail. I want them to succeed. I disagree with what they're doing. I dislike certain aspects of what they're doing, and I'm like, I just don't like it. But I don't care about my own likes. For the sake of my own selfishness, I want them to succeed, and I want them to do well. For selfish reasons, of course. How many years of hype? Yeah, pretty much. But the big thing is that I want to see that they can make it even in spite of the criticism, because even with against the odds, because if they can make it, then it means that I can make it too, if ever presented into a similar situation, or other people can make it if presented in a difficult situation. I don't think he wants to finish the book Psycho Dad based on what I read. I don't think he has any intention to, and I think that it might be the only right course of action, and that is sad.
You know what I think is good. You know what I think is going to happen?
What?
I think he'll get old enough and he'll start to regret the idea of never finishing his story.
I mean, he's almost dead.
And he'll write it and finish it. It'll get published, and then he'll die.
Yeah.
That would be poetic, at least.
Or, more genius plan, he will write it and release it when he's already dead, so he doesn't need to deal with the aftermath.
Exactly.
No, that I know, Fincar, but it's like a philosophical. I know I'm going to make it. I'm not doubting. How do I put this? I don't have self-doubt, if that makes sense, in the sense that I know we're going to make Legends of Terrestria. I know we're going to do it. We're going to make Terrestrial War. We're going to build this setting together. I have no doubt in a bone in my body that we're going to do it. I'm committed. My entire life, I will be working on this project, and I will never abandon it. I can't give up. It's just not in my nature. It's everything to me. It's always been everything. As shallow as I am, I guess, in that regard, it is all I am. So I'm just going to keep working on it forever and keep building it, making it better and better and bigger and bigger. And it, you know, that's the big thing. That's what I need to do. It's what I was born to do. From the moment when I saw my uncle make video games, I always revered him. In the same way I revered my father, too. But when I saw... The big thing is the disillusionment with the military career came from seeing the VA and how they treated my dad. And seeing him have to wait in line for these things he has to suffer with. And all these problems, and then nobody help him. And that made me despise I don't despise the military, if that makes sense. I revere our military, if that makes sense. But I despise...
You reveal the soldiers that hate the institution.
I despise the institution that doesn't care for those that get broken by it. They get left behind. And so that's what made me lean towards my uncle, Jason, who worked for Black Isle and worked for Bethesda, all these big companies, and like all these things. And I was like, oh my god, I want to make video games. I want to make the world sing. I want to move people's hearts, and I want to be able to touch them. That sounds weird. I want to be able to touch you in a way that's not direct, you know, with my words and ideas in a way that I can inspire you. I want to be bold like that. I want to be able to do that. That's always what I've wanted. Ever since, like, feeling about, like, making video games. And that was, like, as far back as but I think a little bit before elementary, around elementary, second grade or first grade, was when that desire really took over. And by third grade, well, by second grade, yeah, third grade, yeah, because first and second, yeah, and then by third grade, that idea manifested into the Mixers project. Didn't know it was called that, and that third grade idea just persisted and never really left me. And so going forward, it just stuck. And I was like, I want to do this. 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 I remember just being so frustrated in like middle school. I was like, I want to do this, but I don't understand how to do this. And I would attend things that I'd be invited to because my uncle was what he was. And I took advantage of those connections, that nepotism, and I used it to make contact with people in the industry and start trying to figure out what this magical beast was. That's also when I started finding things that I found dislikable about it, where my romanticized views of what wasn't actually what it was. Now, I still love the industry and what it is. It just has things in it that I wish that weren't there. I wish are bad and icky, like publishers killing games for really dumb reasons, like what happened to Dead Space, studios being shuttered for the dumbest of reasons, inner conflict and dramas that are just fucking nonsensical. The collapse of Interplay, a company that I thought was like a pure thing, and then I learned about the truth. Like, Interplay, you monster. You're a monster is what you were. You became a monster anyways by the end. Oh, disgusting. I'm glad you're gone. Fuck you. Jesus Christ. But when you learn these things, like, you want to aspire to do these things, right? And I know I'm not perfect, and I never will be, but the goal is to try to keep myself level-headed and to try to be open and honest all the way forward to the best of my abilities, right? Are the things I keep secret? Damn right. Well, things I'll keep secret till the day I die? Probably. But I try to be as honest and straightforward as possible because I hope that that will somehow keep me from doing what I saw so many others do. And what I saw was things like people take turns on life. People take drug turns. My uncle took a turn, and the turn that he took was down a path that I did not want to go. And it was a path that's where we lost him. Like, he's still around, just can't stomach the idea of it. The concept of taking those decisions and then leading to that point. It just makes me sad. Because for a good while, I always really, I don't know how to explain this. I really wanted to show him everything, you know? Like, all the things I had accomplished and achieved. And, like, see how proud he would be. But when it came to it, I know that that person isn't there anymore. And so I just like, okay, you know. I mean, I'm grateful for the man that inspired me to become what I am, but I wish he was still here, you know? He's just gone. He's still around, but the person I know is gone. It's just a strange concept. It's always hard to wrap your head around it. Especially when everything you've done was inspired by that man. Is that weird? Is that weird? I don't know. I don't know.
It happens.
No, it's not.
Everything I built was because of him. I persisted because of that dream and because he kept motivating me to do so.
There's that one saying, don't meet your heroes, and it also goes hand in hand if you either the hero or you live long enough to become the villain. It's because like a lot of people, they either had changed or they change over time, and it's not always a good change, right? We can only hope that they change again in the future, that they can make amends or something. But
yeah. But yeah, that was my big motivation for wanting to make video games. I wanted to make things fun, and I wanted to just be a part of video games, every part of my being, because it all stems back to the origins, right? Why do I like video games as much as I do? I always was kind of like loved video games as a kid, but it really became a core focal point in my life to the point of an obsession, and it did become an obsession. I'm not gonna lie, it is an obsession. I am obsessed with them, but not just from a business standpoint, but as an artistic standpoint, and so much more, because there's so much more to them. They're complicated things, right? But the big thing I think what really helped me And what I always try to say is what's a really good, why escapism is so important, is escapism helped save me from falling into despair when my parents divorced. Because I remember as a child when that happened, and I remember all of the dreams still, because they're burned into my memory. How could you forget something like that? You just don't. Like, you just wake up and you're like, why does mom and dad not talk to each other? Why do I have to go to one parent's house and then the other? How come everybody else doesn't have to do that? Why is everything different for me? And you'll start to ask things like, is it because of me? Am I bad? And then those lead you down certain pathways, right? And you start being like, you're mad, you're angry, right? I got kicked out of preschool. I got kicked out of fucking Catholic school as well. And it was because I was angry. I didn't understand why they weren't together. And I couldn't comprehend it at the time because I was like, why is everything wrong for me? Why can't I have what everyone else has? And it was a frustration. And it was my psychiatrist who actually helped me as a kid, because he would play with me in the sandbox. That's where this is the point of first and second grade. This is where Mixers really started to get its first inklings, right? The idea, the project. I didn't realize that at the time, this obsession, right? But it was like, just play in the sandbox and like we'll make up stuff together and we'll just talk about things that you like to do. And so we played with little green army men in the sand. And I just fucking loved that. Like the idea of just like making this world up and these stories that weren't real. They weren't real, none of it was. But it was escapism from the reality that I just couldn't come to terms with at that point as a kid. And that escapism helped me cope with that loss and helped stabilize me so that I stopped fucking being untenable. I was not, people couldn't deal with me. I was insufferable. And it was insufferable and I needed to become normal somehow. Or in some sort of way, right? And that really helped. And then he showed me Mech Warrior and then like video games. And I remember there was court battles going on now. I wasn't allowed into the courtrooms and stuff like that because they were worried it would fuck with me, and they would have. I'm glad they didn't. But I remember, and this is something that I'm finally going to say now. Maybe I said it before, but I shouldn't. I'm glad I said it now because I know my parents are at peace with it now. They're at peace with it now. So they can't get mad now. But this is when I told a teacher in 6th grade, he's like, and his name, I'm not going to say his name. No, we're not going to say his name. But I told him, and he's like, hey, like, Kyle, like, dude, like, it's okay. We're going to talk about some stuff, but like, which school do you want to go to? And this was a big deal because this was like the final like big court battle because it'd been hell ever everything leading to this. And it was like, okay, I want to go to the school that's closer to my dad's. I want to go there. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm not going to tell anybody, so don't worry. I'm going to tell the judge this, and it's just going to be your and my little secret. And we'll just keep this a secret together. And I'm like, okay. Because I don't want mom to hate me for what I chose. Because I was so scared she would hate me. But I know she wouldn't, right? She loved me. I love my mom and I love my dad. But I was terrified that she would hate me for not choosing the school that was closer to her. And I was scared because all my friends were going to the other school and they wanted me to go to that school too, but I didn't want to go to that school. I wanted to go to this school because it was, I can't really describe it. It was like I just felt like I needed to go there. It was weird. And I wanted to go there. And it was hard to put into words like dealing with that kind of stuff. But it's important because video games are an escapism. This is why it's so important. Because video games became like a central point on how I met people and how I bond with people when I invite them over. It became like a core focal point of conversation, of even finding romantic interest with like a girl that I dated at one point. Like it's because she liked Halo Reach and I liked Halo Reach too, and we kind of shared that. And so we bonded over that. I used that to sort of connect with people. And that's how that worked for the most part, for the longest time, until I became a fast food worker for a little bit during high school to make extra money on the side. Then I got really good with people, and that's when my skills started to expand. But it first started with that, because moving from school to school when my parents are fighting over custody of me, because my biggest fear for the longest time was the nightmares dealing with loss. And I remember, I'm glad my mom realized that that was bad, but she didn't know at the time. But it was over total custody, right? Scary. It's absolutely scary. Like, I'll never get to see my dad again, was the thought that always went into my head every time. Ugh, terrifying. Terrifying stuff. Always get terrified about shit like that. Like, why can't I see him again? Go ahead, Bino.
To be very honest, this reminds me of like that one when people dug up the statistics like on male like unalivings, right? When you press Control to delete on live, and because I can see on YouTube, and they showed that there was a graph that apparently like they went down during like the golden era of games that people called it, and they went up again when games started going shit, you know. So like yeah, I this always remember. Oh my god, fucking plague. Oh no, Bino is bringing in statistics. Is that one
Well, yeah,
statistic of
I
about like
can just cut to the chase without my life experiences, right? In case it's boring for people, which is fair. I can't imagine it's super interesting. But the big thing is that the reason why video games are so important to me is because of all these reasons and circumstances. And I think they're more than just a video game. Like, they're all connected, right? And these video games are important because they do more than that. Like, video games are important. Mech Warrior helped me escape things that I didn't want to deal with. Like, I went to these places to escape, and I know my mom didn't understand at the time, right? And they fought over it, and my uncle even participated in those court battles. This is why I started to revere him, because he fought for my right to play video games, because that was a big part of it. Like, they're fucking bad for you and shit like that. Like, my fucking whole thing, my whole case was about that shit too. I was at the center of it. And I remember being like, these worlds, like, there's so much more. There's a journal, and I hope to God I burned it or lost it, where I talk about where I was writing, I remember, about how I was like so infatuated with these other worlds. I want to do that. And I remember writing about it at length, about how much I wanted to make things, right? Because if we can preserve games, video game preservation, we can also protect these places for people to bond over. Yes, you know, it's not super important, and the new games are more important than the old games. The live service, what SKG is doing, is very important, because it's about the newest games, which means that the youngest people, like I was, will be playing Dune Awakening, we'll be playing Helldivers 2. Let's preserve those memories, so that future generations can experience them. They did matter, not only to the developers who spent their entire lives working on them, but to the players who played them and the memories we shared. We'll never get those things back, it's true, once the time has passed, but it should exist so that those memories can be relived. You know what I mean? Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Kinda.
Yes.
It's like it's like I kind of understand. Like it's always every person has their own life story, right? In my case, it was not a court battle; it was living in Brazil, so I can relate a bit to the escapism part. Yeah.
Art,
I
no,
can imagine living in Brazil.
Polly donates $5. Oh wait, did we get that crazy Templar donation? I don't even know.
I already added it.
I'm gonna read. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was back in the George R. R. Martin thing. All right, let's answer that. I don't think I did. And yes, you can split this evenly between the two. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, you got it. Good job. Clap, clap.
I did not hear the evenly part though. What's it go to?
Dawn of War remaster and Broken Arrow. So 10 for 10.
Okay.
But yeah, video games are super important. Video games are how we bind ourselves together, and it explores our minds and imaginations. And it triggers a certain sense within, I think, all human beings to think and be okay with being not closing off that childhood imagination, right? My childhood imagination is just as active now as it was when I when I realized at first it was active as a child. I feel no different today than I do back then. And I think that's a good thing. And I think the reason why that's good is because a lot of people talk about, and when you read about certain things, that they close doors as they grow older, and they silence voices in themselves because of certain social pressures and things like that. And to a degree, you know, growing up is important, right? But when I see somebody say, like, what's the comment that I would see? Oh, here you have a grown-ass man playing a video game, you know? Grown-ass man, blah, 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 blah. Right? Like,
It's for those
well,
people.
why aren't you playing this video game? You can have fun too. Like, why did you, at what point did we go wrong when that little imagination in that person died? I don't hate that person for saying that. I feel bad for them. Because I feel like they lost something. And that's what I'm
There's some people
trying to
that-
protect, if that makes sense.
There's some people that they never had it. That's the main their issue.
I don't think so.
Although,
Like,
like,
maybe,
I
but
don't
the thing
know.
is that I think that a lot of people have an imagination and their upbringing plays a role in that. My dad and my mom doing that fighting was hard for me to deal with. My stepdad being there for me and treating me as his son was important to me, and I will love him forever for it. Because he didn't treat me the same way my stepdad treated him, where he beat him and he threw shit at him. And that's a big deal to me because these people matter in my life and I love them, you know? And it's kind of, in a way, it's all tied together because a lot of this was bound through video games, like experiences that were shared together. And these experiences are important and should be preserved. And maybe some people had a tougher upbringing. People have shit lives, you know? I had a very good life and a very good childhood. And I'm very lucky that I had what I had, thanks to my parents for being so loving. And I'm very grateful for it. But not everybody gets that, right? And because not everybody gets that, then it's our job to try to make those doors open so that they can get it when they get older or when they get out of those spaces. You know what I mean? That's what it's all really about, is leaving doors open so people can come on in if they want to be a part of something, right? Doesn't mean that you won't get gatekept if you're genuinely a terrible human being, right? But it does mean that you'll have the opportunity to change and grow. I don't know.
You could be based instead of Korean.
Pretty much. Basically. That's why all these old... Look at half the games on this stupid fucking picture are ancient. Command & Conquer Remaster. Deep Rock Galactic, not so old. Doom 3, old. Earth Defense Force, relatively new. Factory, new. Ancient.
You know one thing that
Ancient.
you know one thing that I get super nostalgic for, and one day I think I'm going to buy a PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2.
PS3.
I
And a
had so many
PS2.
good games on those, and whenever I regret selling my PlayStation 3 to pay bills.
We're talking about regret. I had a fucking limited edition Halo Reach Xbox 360, and that's gone forever now.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's true. That's why I kind of wish there was a way to, like, a way back machine. Like, Microsoft should do this, you know? Microsoft, make a fucking Steam competitor, but you don't sell new games. It's a way back machine for you to play all your Xbox games, from the OG Xbox to the 360 to its arcade games to whatever, and so you can completely experience that way. That's a compromise for video game preservation right there. And don't tie it to a subscription service, a one-time purchase, for God's sake. There's no need to be greedy about this. There's no need to be greedy. We can come to a compromise, a fair one at that.
You know, two things that I don't buy, and you mentioned it earlier. One is subscription services, and the other is the nouveau. If I see the nouveau in a video game, I don't buy the video game. Because the two things that, like...
Jeff is just happy little guys. Look at him go. Happy little fishes. Let's see. One more swing.
Also, just mentioning,
What?
only $4 till the daily goal is met.
The daily goal should already be met.
Yeah.
It says 408 out of 412, unless there's like a bug or something.
Got it?
No, I'm miscounted.
Probably is...
You can't count. Oh, now you're bad at math. Now you're bad. Basic math is now your enemy too. Yeah,
No, just
these are
yours.
companies for them. There is no reason to not be greedy. I know. Well, no. A company's job is to make money so that they can stay alive and keep operating, right? Just like my job as a streamer is to make that little blue bar fill up so that I don't disappear, right? So otherwise I go bye-bye. Slowly but gradually.
I go swim.
I go pretty much. We all have a reason, right? You guys got to get your job done. You got to save money, you know, for what you want. You got to save money and earn money for what things you need. Just like companies got to make money. My whole goal as a preservationist is to reach a compromise in which they can get money too, and we can get what we want out of them too. And so both parties come away with something. We can both win from this. Former Ghost gives a membership. Thank you very much. And that's the big thing here. And that I know they want money, and I want them to succeed. I want them to make more games. We can come to an agreement. We just need to get them to realize it, and we need to be patient, not filled with hatred and vitriol, but filled with gentle compassion, you know? And we'll win them over by just love bombing them. I'm kidding.
Love bombing is a.
We surround the EA guys, start growing them. It's like, yeah.
You will love video games. No, I love money.
They're just like rubbing the fucking, I don't know, Harry Potter game on his face because EA published a lot of this.
You will not make any more sports games, but they sell so much. Wow. You don't know how many fucking schlubs buy those garbage fucking video games.
That's true.
I remember when people would buy.
God, I hope my
every
parents
year
didn't watch
FIFA.
this stream. I'd be so fucking upset if they did.
They will. I'll be like, I'm so upset with you.
I open up a little bit too much sometimes. All right, so let's see. Catfish are fat and they need to be beaten. And like, what the
That's
fuck?
true.
There goes the honeymoon period. There goes the Sai Savant says, got any
Uh,
summer sale recommendations this year, fellow sea-dwelling
I got it.
creatures? What kind of genres are you interested in? Let's start with that, because to be honest, asking that is a very ambiguous and vague question when the sea of gaming is literally so massive that I could spend an entire life dedicated to talking about. Oh, wait a second. That's what I do. That's what I do. Somebody still going strong after all these years? I have faith in Indie Stone. I have faith, and I love this studio so much, mostly because this studio it gave me faith in myself. Oops, as I smacked my desk. The reason why Indie Stone is such a cool studio is because they never gave up. They kept going since 2013, and they were technically in development before 2013. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right. Pretty sure. And they're still going a decade strong afterwards, building their game. It's why I have faith that any game that's really good can take years or a decade to make, and it can be great if you just keep working on it. And obviously, you know, listening to feedback and critique and stuff like that. Make sure that you actually get peer reviewed. Technically. Like, think about yourself
Man.
as a developer, as a scientist. You're literally making a formula here.
The genius.
Don't
and I clearly can do no
isolate.
wrong.
Right? I have a lot of ideas that get shot down by my team members, and I get sad about it. And it's okay to be sad about it. But it's important to chin up and carry on. A shame that even on Steam, we technically got a subscription agreement going, unlike on GOG.
We?
Sorry, the way I
Also
read that just
consider-
amused me. What?
Pizza Savant, you didn't say what kind of games you like. for
Yeah, he
the
didn't.
recommendation.
He's just too chubby.
I have recommendations though. There's, let me see.
Nothing good? Gotcha.
Dan.
Beano's Tasting
If you
Games?
like-
Garbage.
If you like visual novels, there's I Wanna Hug That Gator. 35%.
That's a big
off.
if.
That's not gay.
So that's a big if.
Ah, yeah. If you like visual novels, yeah. If you like Slot, there's Cyberpunk.
If you like slop, there's Cyberpunk.
I bought it. I'm going to play it.
Cyberslot.
I mean, Cyberpunk.
It's getting another. It's getting another update.
It is.
Oh, really?
I'm actually glad
Yeah.
they're not giving up on it. I'm actually more mad that they fucking said that the last expansion was like they're done with it. Because I'm like, but you shouldn't be. Like, you need to make it into the thing you promised it would be. I'll stick around, and I will be faithful if you'll be faithful to me. Literally just keep developing it, and I'll be here. But my biggest problem with Cyberpunk 2077 is that it's missing 90% of it. That's not 90%. But they're missing most of its features. And because it's missing all of its features and promised things, I'm still mad at them. And I still don't like them for that. Because I refuse to accept Cyberpunk as it is. I want Cyberpunk to be what it was supposed to be. Where's the multiplayer co-op stuff? Where's the more like dynamic fucking police stuff? Where's like the emergent like world stuff? Where's that? There's none of it.
They
That's because the
C
C-suite dropped the ball on that and caused that sort of a domino effect that sabotaged it from the very beginning.
That's what I mean. They can redeem themselves. It's possible. They just need to
But
put
the
out
thing
big
is, CD Projekt
expansions and add
Red-
it in.
CD Projekt Red can recover, and I know the C-suite's actually got a right proper foot up the ass. I'm surprised they haven't been fired yet, which we'll see because they're now facing competition because a lot of those developers that made CD Projekt Red and made Witcher 3 and gave them that brand name are now making their own game that's coming out either this year or next year. That vampire game, Dawnwalker.
I would say
Which
one thing.
looks-
It looks nothing because we only saw a CGI, and I'm going to personally tickle everyone that go like, the gaming is
We
great.
saw scripted gameplay.
We saw CGI. We didn't see gameplay.
No, we did.
No, we
We
saw
actually got
gameplay
gameplay.
reveal.
Scripted gameplay.
Okay.
So you
yeah,
guys watched the newer version where they made Siri less man-faced?
No, we're talking about Cyberpunk, aren't we?
No, I thought
No,
you
No,
were
we're
talking
talking
about
about the vampire game, the new vampire game.
on par.
Dawnwalker, I think it's called.
Dawn
What?
something. It's like
This conversation is moving too fast, and we're switching topics.
But yeah, I was trying to steer it back because was trying to get it on the stream topic. Yeah, just my thoughts on the whole thing. Just from the title. The EU, well, the EU is weird, so they might get some way to legally have to have some kind of preservation, but the
It's
US
this
is actually
article.
much harder due to. Yeah, that's for the EU, by the way, chat. Do not get this mixed up with the US.
Yes.
The EU is weird with their laws. They may actually be unreasonable to publishers and developers. But unlike, I know there is enough petition, if I recall correctly, where the EU Parliament has to talk about this. Great Britain also, I think there is enough signatures where there has to be a debate, so awareness is there. And the publishers know this. Now the problem is, when we get the compromise, Tibbs has said, because there is a compromise and there is industry standard and real life examples of this that do
It's not
produce
just me that
results.
said it. I mean, even Scott Ross and other people have said these compromises. My only solutions were basically just like, well, we could try to the industry could solve this problem by just creating avenues for it. Like Scott with the MMOs where they make single player client versions and then people buy that and then they can play them. Mine was basically like, well, the industry could come up with a solution by literally founding a new developer or publisher and get some investors and then create a new company that's dedicated to hosting live service games that are dead. Or GOG could become the new guy that does this by just getting bigger and more resources and support from CD Projekt Red because they're already set up to be about video game preservation. That's what they're set up to do. If the CD Projekt Red would just allocate the resources, they could probably do it themselves. But my problem is GOG is so undermanned and underfunded that they're not actually operating at what they should be.
It's by design by CD Projekt Red due to resource misallocation, but back to topic. The main hurdle where it's going to be up to us to push to pressure for an industry standard, which is what I hope happens. Now the problem is a lot of this peer pressure is actually on the politicians and less the companies. Now, granted, you can still, which is a very careful silver lining you have to be careful of, as you give the politicians an excuse. They may go overboard, and they almost always go overboard. To be very specific on what they could do, if I have to make an argument that there's something they can do, have to, not if I want them to do it, but if they have to do something. It was to address the problem between licensing and if it's a product. Is it a service or is it a product? Right now, most all video games for the longest time, even back in the golden era, are labeled under licensing laws. In the US, this has already been determined, which means that's not changing unless you get legislation on board. Good luck with that. In the EU, they always go overboard. Of which I don't trust them. If you look at the
not
economics of the
necessarily.
game,
I mean, so the big thing is we should just we shouldn't overreact. We should just really, at this point, it's kind of out of our hands. I mean, it's been out of our hands for a while.
Yeah.
Right now, we just sit and we wait and we see what happens and we react to what happens to try to steer conversation and discourse, because that's what this whole stream has been about. It's about steering discourse and conversation away from actually not necessarily this. This is actually a minor issue, in my opinion. This doesn't actually, this what I'm looking at right here doesn't matter actually in my opinion at all. But it's a good way to get people's attention so we can talk about the actual conversation, which is lack of centralized leadership. Now I know Scott Ross basically, and the reason why I bring him up so much is that he basically backed off of like leading, because it's from the European side, right? But in my opinion, I think that was a mistake. I think he should stay leadership position of the movement, purely because
He's kind of stuck in it. Is this problem?
the reality is, okay, you might be stuck in it, but like the reason why it's important for him to be in leadership position is because we need a leader to centralize the movements of the organization, right? Like the way I view it in my eyes is like I'm a squad leader. I've got my little squad of bucket bros, all right? We were a small little squad, and we're little guys, and we're gonna go and help this like big battle, right? And we're gonna do what we can with what we have. And then there's other little squad leaders who are leading their own little groups. But it's important to have a centralized leader who is making sure that the movement's goals are very much, all in the same, so we don't have fragmentation or schisms, or schisming as I call it. Schisming is basically the process in which people start being like, well, this is what the movement's about. No, this is what the movement's about. It's like, no, make sure that you read the FAQ. The big thing is why it's so important is because a lot of fucking people don't give a damn about the movement and signed the thing, and that's great and all, but they signed the petition basically without actually thinking about what it actually represented. And they signed it because they reacted to somebody doing drama. That's the reality. The only reason why the movement is getting drowned is because of drama. It's sex, it's bad, it's not good, and that's how it is. But it's what we have, and it's what we have to work with. And so what you need to make sure is that these new people understand what the movement's about or get flushed out, because they're going to push the movement in weird directions, right? Demanding source code. That's not what the movement's about. Demanding server tools. That's not what the movement about.
No.
The minute we
Yeah, that's
open
my
that
biggest
avenue
fear.
is the minute where the movement starts to become a monster. As a developer, I'm on board with the movement right now. But if the movement was about taking the source code from me, I have no choice but to be against it. It forces my hand.
It's property theft.
Yes, because I'm paying thousands of dollars for our source code for the thing that I'm having Robin make. If I have to turn that over to the public domain, that's against everything I've been working towards my entire life. And this is not what the movement's about, by the way. And that's why I'm also on board with making sure this information is important. No developer's going to go along with that. I'm not going to be able to go along with it. I'm a video game preservationist at core and always have been and always will be. But I cannot consign my source code to being public domain. That's my fucking DNA. Like, I can't give that away. Like, that's literally everything that
says.
Yeah, I know. And that's the problem. There are people that are pushing for that I've noticed, and there are people on the opposite side of the fence who don't know enough about it. I had this conversation with somebody on Twitter recently, this morning, while I was talking to Robin about spells for our video game. And when I was having this conversation, I didn't try to attack him because I didn't want to, but I made a quote tweet. You can see it. It's on my Twitter. But basically like, no, this is what the movement about. It's about this, and this. It's not about giving out source codes. It's not about that. It's like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. It's like, okay, solved. That dealt with that bit of misinformation, right? Because now he's back on board with what the movement's about, and he's actually in favor of it now. It's like, oh, that's actually makes a lot more sense. I can't believe I was wrong about this. Yeah, I'm 100% on board. And see,
Yeah,
we don't push him away. We don't
fear.
attack him.
Yeah.
My concern is I saw people attacking this guy, and I'm like, fucking shit, idiots! Don't attack people, retards, because all you're gonna do
Explain it to them.
is going to make him now hate you, and now we're gonna lose our ability to reason with people. You don't hate someone. Like likes weeb games, right? I'm gonna point this out. That's cool. You're allowed to like weeb games. Awesome. I'm glad you like them. That's it. That's all I gotta do. If I'm like, click, you little shit, start beating him up. Not allowed to like shit I don't like, you motherfucker.
We should do
But
that
now
with,
he's
like,
not gonna be on
I
my side with
disagree with that.
anything. He's just gonna fucking be mad at me because he's got bruises. Because he's got bruises.
You should believe
One thing
that
you're
guy,
noticing,
dude.
yeah, this is a bigger problem you're seeing in
He's got
gaming that
bruises.
has happened in the past and has destroyed movements as the hijacking problem. This goes for
Let
all
it get
movements in
hijacked,
general.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a word for this. And right now we're in that critical phase of can we stop it from being hijacked? Because again, source code, no, no. It's like that. This goes to, and the gamer crowd, because it's so big, it can easily be, you can easily get demagogues that can easily steer the conversation. Right now, it's less probable that it will happen. There's a lot of voices making the good fight, but these arguments are almost always gonna, bad arguments are almost always gonna pop up. You have to smash it, you have to smash them and going,
Yep.
no, stay disciplined. There is another case of how this, and companies know this too. I'll cite another example of this, extortion or property theft or just bad behavior. Remember the Apple Epic case? Epic actually tried to steer the court case by you taking advantage of their Fortnite crowd, and you really had kids and Fortnite people calling into the courtrooms pretty much screaming, or streams. What was Epic trying to do in the background that nobody paid attention to? They wanted to use Apple's digital services and make it so that they don't have to pay them. That was what they were trying to do with intent and with action. The judge actually explicitly stated this, but Epic took advantage of good intentions and a good conversation. Is 30% cut reasonable? Fine, we can have a debate with that. But Epic was more malicious.
Yep. Now,
You can easily see that with this movement.
Fincarn says, Kibbs, there are people that pay others to give their DNA. That's technically true. And that is also an option for us as a company. So when we develop our own engine, right, we can license that out for money so that the studio can make more profit. When you force companies to have to give away their DNA, which is, by the way, I think is unethical to do that. I don't think that they should be allowed to do that. If they do, it would be a disaster. It wouldn't kill gaming, but it would be an unmitigated disaster. Because you're gonna see the industry take a change for the worse if that ever did happen, in my opinion. But my opinion could be wrong because I'm not always right about things. But I really don't like that idea. But the big thing is that the DNA, the source code, right? The source code of Terrestria is going to be the engine that we're making, right? And we could, in theory, as we make games and stuff and we improve the engine, some little indie company might be like, hey, can we license you for the engine? And we'd be like, yeah, sure. Like, we'll want like X amount of this or that or whatever. And then we get a little bit of money and they get to use the engine that we built and they didn't have to build it, right? So we did all the heavy lifting, but they can use the framework of it to make their own little game in it. And that's how licensing engines kind of works. So we profit from it as our studio now is able to use that as a new source of revenue, and they can use the engine for that little indie company to make a game that they think would really work inside our engine really well, and both parties are happy. This is why I think it's important to not mandate licensing, because licensing is literally one of those business avenues. I don't expect people to license our engine. Our engine is like, it's when I pitched the idea to Robin when we recruited him, I want to pick up I want to pick up the torch of where it was left in the 90s and carry that torch that's been left laying there ever since it was abandoned, because everybody left for 3D. I want to carry the 2D torch, basically. And he's like, yeah, I'm on board with that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're carrying forth. We're basically making a engine that's for old games, but modern, if that makes sense. And so it's like a weird modern 90s idea being made in 2020s and probably through the 2030s as well from the 90s. And so it'll be this weird relic engine kind of, but it'll make games like old games kind of, but in a modern way. And it'll be really cool. And that's the idea. Picking up the old torch that was left behind and carrying it forward. Now, whether it works, who knows? We'll find out, right? But there could be other guys that making their games are like, oh, I want to make an RPG too, and there's this really cool engine that makes games like they were old games, kind of. But it's like a rustic engine, but it isn't like an ancient engine that's abandoned. It's still being worked on and being improved. And it's a Battle Damage Studios engine, which it doesn't have a name, by the way. I don't think our game, I don't think it has a name. I think it's the thing. the doodad that works sometimes at the moment, and sometimes doesn't, is what it is actually called. Or the god damn it, there goes the shadows.
There
again.
goes 7 months of work.
Kinda. I mean, most engines aren't made for 2D games, if that makes sense anymore. Versus what we're building is explicitly 2 dimensions, and only 2 dimensions. There are some other engines that can do 2D, and Unity does it, and Monogame can do it, and other things can. But we want something explicit for what we're trying to produce. Because, well, no engine can actually make the game we want to make, because it's a dream game. And so Dream Game has to be built inside of an engine that's built for dreams. No, we're not calling it the Dream Engine, I swear to God. We're not calling it.
Maybe
Probably
you
already
should.
taken. Cringe. If it's called the Dream Engine, we're going to point back to the stream and laugh at the bucket engine. Oh my God. Terrible. That was a widget field fucker point about the source code. Puts Frederick in the pocket. That silenced his criticism. Okay. Helldivers 2 dev, Soggy Cereal, would be another good ambassador for SKG. Wait, was he actually an advocate for it in that video? I didn't actually hear. He never talked about giving up source codes. Yeah. Well, in this thing, it never talks about. Yeah. No, I already know that. Like, the movement isn't about giving up source codes or, the tools to do it. It's just asking for conversation about a sunset policy for games that could use it, right? Step 1 in a big road of video game preservation, being that we need to do this for not just this game, but all the other games left behind. But those can be rescued later. Rescue missions can be done by studios that specialize in rescuing. Night Dive Studios is a rescue. Well, I'll call it a rescue studio. It's what it is. It rescues old games and brings them back up. And GOG is also a rescue platform. They rescue old games and bring them up out of basically whatever licensing hell they are in and make them grabbable again. These are efforts done by companies for profit to help rescue old games. And they've done a great job. They've rescued a lot, but there are so many more that need rescue. The SKG movement is basically a movement that will effectively help open the door to preventing games from falling into the category to need rescue, which will be a win in of itself. Meaning that games won't need to be rescued anymore because, well, all games will have policies to protect them, or companies will be encouraged to do so. That will be a W. The goal is to make sure that the list of rescued games or games that in need of rescue does not grow. That's my opinion. And SKG will effectively eliminate that. Or, well, not eliminate it, but it will reduce it to a manageable and easier influx. Because right now, the rescue games list is probably expanding at the rate of like a game a month or something like that. Probably actually more, to be honest. But, I don't want to think about it. Because so many games are actually falling out of service. Like Anthem. Anthem is currently going to have its service pulled down. It's actually a game that's affected by this right now. SKG will not be retroactive. No. But it will prevent new games from falling into that pit. Now we just need something set up to rescue old games that already have fallen in the pit. Yep, I know Night Motorcyclist. I'm aware how those laws, how bills work. But the basic idea is that if we can prevent new games from filling the pit, then it will be a matter of time until we slowly save one by one each one. You know what I mean? Star Wars Galaxy is currently being saved by a community. Return to Reckoning was saved by a community. Skylords is literally being saved by a community. I'm just going to use their actual names rather than using both. Yeah, Warhammer Duck Open needs to be rescued. That's true. About software license. Apparently it was ruled by the EU's court of law that a purchased copy of software is owned by the buyer as long as the copy is sold as either a good or product. I mean, the big thing is I don't really, okay, EU stuff is important because they need to win. But, we also need stuff over here to win. Because we don't have anything. Oh, we have right to repair, I guess. That's for, phones, though. Not sure if that's really applicable for videos. I got hair in my face. Get it out. Yeah, well, it's... God, I can't imagine having arrows there. Can you imagine? Like, fucking goes down to her fucking eyes. Oh my god.
There's also a girl, unlike you.
Women are weird.
Earth is also allergic to herself, which is pretty funny to me.
Well. Beano shall be lit on fire.
What?
Right to repair still an uphill battle. Yeah, nothing ever truly is a victory, is it? But these things, these are all vectors to basically winning the war, right? Because we are in a war of video game preservation. Our opponents are just people who just don't really understand yet. Once they know and are taught the truth and educated in our love bombing efforts, they will come around. Just like, what the fuck?
We just
Little fucking EA executive surrounded by chatfish is petting him. It's like, it's like, just mentioning in connection to ownership of games. No, it's true. It's true. It's important. You're mentioning it, Pondazan, and it is important. I appreciate you guys bringing this to light. Oh boy. So many things to repair, so many things to maintenance. EU sign laws, devs, publishers don't do Euro release. Well, I mean, they will because they're going to want EU money. That's the thing, right? Like, cutting out the European market is like cutting off, like, your fucking, like, leg. You're like, oh, it's just a little nub now. They're going to want it because money. The thing is, the reason why I talk about this and why it's important to steer the conversation in terms of compromising is because I think there is a equitable and fair agreement that can be reached for both parties where they can get money, in exchange we get service, and we all are happy for it. There is a way in which they can profit from this, and we need to help them find the way to profit from this in a way that's going to make them happy, in a way that's going to make us happy too. So that way we both come away with the thing we want, and both parties are left happy. It's my ideal capitalism, if you will. Just ideal capitalism. True. Both parties get things. I go to Burger King, I give the lady $5. She hands me back burger. I happy, she happy. You know what I mean? Simple. Simple.
Life is easy.
Life easy. Eat burger. Pay $5.
Buy burger. Make your burgers yourself.
Gets mad. Well,
They
then
taste-
that's
they taste
still an
better.
exchange. That's true. Go to grocery store, buy beef, buy bread, all the components, go home, make it, and when you get home, use electricity to make it, then, you know, that's a service, you know, that the electricity company gets. They get money for that, you know, they get money for that. And then slowly the government takes their cut of that too, you know, because, you know, that's theirs. That's a nice burger. Slices a chunk off. It's like, slices a chunk.
A wild Hugo Fugi appears.
Holy fake. Such a McDonald Desian American. I just like making food analogies because I find them fun because you can segue them. Listen, I'm just saying that, you know, when I worked at Burger King, it might have scarred me, okay, on a mental and like physical level. Physically, it actually did. I do have actual like a burn on my arm from that.
So that was a
Goddamn
serious-
co-worker. No. Oh my god. Fucking dumped a fucking fryer thing on my fucking arm. No, for not like the whole thing, but like a little bit. Caused a burn.
Ouch.
It hurt bad. Worst part is right
What I
on
mean
the
to say
joint.
is that
So when you move your arm, it like constantly kept reopening. That sucked.
Ah, got it.
Pay
what I
attention.
mean to say is that you were left scarred and deformed by Burger King.
Yeah, true. On my elbow. Near my elbow, at least. Worked at Wendy's? Oh, yeah. See, I think everybody should work at a stepping stone job once, because stepping stone jobs, you learn so many valuable things, actually. Good teamwork, and how to recognize bad teamwork. How to recognize... That hurts. Just thinking about it, because I remember that. Oof. Ouch.
Deep fried kip, that explains a lot.
Pretty much. But
Nice salad.
At least with McDonald's, all you have to do is put the patty in the heater. What? At Burger King, you had to like slide the burgers into like a tray and then like push the tray into the broiler, then lift it to retract it, pull it back, and then it would be in there for an X amount of time, and then it would roll the tray onto a little plastic pot that would catch it, and then it would take the burgers over to the other thing. And then you would shingle the burgers too so that the moisture stays correct and the temperature stays good. And shingle it so the grilled side is facing up, so that because it only grills on one side because it's a broiler, you know. So that way, when the customer, almost the player, opens it, they can see the grilled sides up facing, so they see that it's got grill marks on it to know that it was broiled. And the reason why you shingle them is to keep all the patties equally moisturized with the grease inside the little pat, and when it sits in the heater. The heater will then hold that meat for I think about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then if nobody orders those burger patties, they go to heaven. Heaven is the little bucket that's underneath the table, where they go to die. Where they go to die.
Wait, they would like get thrown away if
Yep.
they didn't get holy shit. They
Yeah,
could
because
just leave.
if it's not fresh,
leave
it's
there?
not food.
Okay, so I could just leave near the Burger King and get free
Oh my
food?
god, I'll explain to you how this works. Okay, so no, you're not going to want to eat that, trust me. But because by the end of the day, that's when it's thrown out, and then by then it's been sitting in that fucking bucket for like hours, right? Like,
What if I
No,
have a
you
deal
don't
with
eat that.
someone-
do not eat
I
that.
have a deal with someone inside, so I
Because
get,
it's taken to the garbage outside in the back and it's thrown in the dumpster. And the dumpster, after a few days, is then collected. And it's in a stored container because that way nobody does fucking dig through it and try to eat it. So let me explain. So the burger is taken out of a freezer, then put into the broiler. The broiler then processes it and cooks it. Then it's put into a pan, then you shingle it. Shingling is when you layer the burger patties on top of each other a certain way. Once shingled, then it's slid into a heat pad. The heat pad keeps it warm and is also encapsulated so that the moisture stays in. After an X amount of time, the burger meat in there will expire. Once it expires, the little timer that's pressed on the button will beep at you. It'll go beep, 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 beep. I'm dead. Send me to heaven. So you send them to heaven. It's like, "Wah." Because those burgers aren't fresh no more.
But like, how
The
long
customer
do they
gets
stay
fresh
inside?
food. Everything has
long do
timers
they-
on it. Meaning the minute you cut the lettuce, you put a little timer sticker to say when it was cut and when it will expire.
Ah, so it's not on the same day that it gets thrown out. It's a few days later.
What? No, the burgers expire within like an hour or so inside the
Wait,
container.
no, then you just like pay someone on
Help
the
me
inside?
understand, Bino. This stuff is kept freeze dried for
This is also to
fucking
keep
month
it
before they-
preserved.
bring it there.
It's also to keep it so that it stays fresh because the customer, when they buy a burger, they don't want to buy a sad burger. Sad burger has like things that should be in the garbage, meaning it's not fresh anymore.
You're just making me hungry. God fucking damn.
Food must be maintained fresh for the consumer, the customer. I mean, they're gonna consume it, but that's true. It's important because you learn these things. I know so much about how to make burgers and stuff because of Burger King, and I also learned how to make better burgers than they make. Because I just learned when working there that they just don't make good burgers the right way. You have to do it
We have a
yourself.
Burger King. We have a Burger
You
King
have to
over
do
here.
it yourself. You do have to
I
do
don't
it
know.
yourself in terms of seasoning and all that.
Yes.
And the problem is Burger King, they don't have, like, the concept of Worcestershire is not a thing. They don't
Good night,
marinate
Jano.
meat, nothing.
And, you know,
This is a bit ranty, I know, but
Good
damn,
night, Yana Berries.
gotta marinate your meat, champ, season it. Good night. Bino, make me
you-
sad. Bino, make me sad, says Paul brother.
What?
Have you perhaps considered that you are autistic?
He doesn't say Bino make me, he says Benno make me a sad. Benno make me.
Good night, Frederick.
Night, Breadfish. But I hope all these fun stories have gotten you to consider supporting my concepts for video game preservation. Also, supporting this movement. And also, making sure that this movement isn't degraded into something it's not, fractured. Okay? That's why communication is so important. Okay? Because there's times when I say something, and I probably have said something about this movement even, and I've been wrong about. That's happened. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but it will. That's right, Vulpus. I was right. Yeah, I knew what I was talking about. You were wrong.
What?
Yeah, that's,
I'm not wrong.
you weren't listening. Isn't it unreasonable to ask this of free-to-play games? Well, free-to-play games are free for users to try. They are supported by microtransactions, which customers spend money on. When a publisher ends a free-to-play without providing any recourse to the player, they are effectively robbing those players' bought features for the game. True. Hence, they should be accountable to making the game playable in some fashion once support ends, which some companies have done, by the way.
I don't understand why gacha games don't just sell the gacha thing offline after.
They make more money by having people like gamble for what they want.
I don't think like the whales like jump from one game to another. I think.
Oh, they do.
They do.
They do.
Like,
You have to understand that these people do not care about their money.
Okay, so one of the things you got to understand about these big executives for these large publishers, especially the multi-million-dollar companies, is that they are playing with money that they don't even use for the studio, and they also invest it into other things that aren't related to the studio or any of the studio. They don't reinvest. They diversify their portfolio, which is a smart thing to do as an investor, but it is not good to do as a company, right? Versus me, Kip, based Kip, yes, me, that I put all the money back into Battle Damage Studios that chat gave me. And some of that money I used to buy burger. Comes back.
I used to buy burger.
But most importantly,
Burger.
I allocate only a small portion of the money for myself, and then the vast majority goes into the studio, thusly investing back into the project, you know? For these guys, they don't really do that. They're like, Dead Space didn't sell a bajillion games like Resident Evil, therefore Dead Space should die. And they pull the plug on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're like, this game, what it really needs, it's a Command and Conquer thing. You know, real-time strategy games are complicated. What if it was a first-person shooter? And then you get Renegade. Which, surprisingly, was made by Westwood, and while not a good shooter, mind you, it is a charming shooter. It is one of those games where I say, it is a charming bad game. It is a good bad game. Because you can feel that it was filled with love when they made it, and you can also feel that they had no idea what the word gunplay meant. Because they didn't. Oh my god, do guns have no feeling in that game? They feel like feathers, I guess. Is the only thing. Every gun feels like a feather. The whole thing feels like feathers. The whole thing. EA hopes 1 million players for Battlefield 6. EA is fucking stupid. What they should be thinking is really cutting down their size, and also maybe using all that money they have while they still have it to kickstart or jumpstart things like Visceral Games back into being. Literally, what was the company that did the Dead Space remake? Make them in charge of the Dead Space revival. Literally revive that franchise. Find another little company, pick them up. Not talking about me, by the way. Don't touch me. The fucking find a little RTS company or somebody who does RTSs or Petroglyph and scoop them up and be like, make Command and Conquer again. And then give them money and resources so they make Command and Conquer again. And then put people with oversight power in positions of power over them. Oversight people to make sure they don't veer off course. And that they report back that it's being faithful. And then keep tabs with the community. The reason why I'm recommending oversight on these projects is purely based on the fact that they need it. Why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about... But, like, yeah, I'm not in charge of EA, but if I was, guy, I might be running it a lot better. You'd make a lot of money. Gotta be rich.
A lot of this, my dude, a lot of these companies, like, it kind of, it's a wonder how they're losing money, to be honest. How they were losing money for so long. Because, like, their job was kind of very easy.
Well, the thing is, they weren't content with where the course of things were going to go. So they were riding a high, basically, right? Like it was the boom, 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 big success, right? But they weren't ready, and they didn't want to deal with the fact that that high was going to ceiling, and then they were going to level out and mellow out and go down a little, and then they'd go back up again. They didn't want that. They want a straight skyrocket upwards. That's not tenable. That's not realistic. You're going to have to make a great game, then you're going to have to make a good game, and maybe an okay game. and then you're going to make a great game again. It's not like you can just keep producing massive things all the time. You're going to have to level out and do an okay job once in a while. And that's okay. Not everybody can be as good as me. I'm kidding, I don't have anything, but just wanted to do that. All right, so like
Nothing out yet.
yeah, nothing out Kibs. And okay. This is Norwegian Corners. What I'm hearing is put Kibs in charge of the FBI. Don't do that. I will end up dead in a ditch somewhere. Small amount, 5 burgers, plus 3 sodies, 2 fries, and a small salad for breakfast. What are you talking about, Hugo? You fat little sow. I didn't want to know what you were ordering, boy. Now, the real question is, Bino, will you be available tomorrow? He's dead, isn't he?
Yes. He got in the shower.
Kill Bino. Right, chat.
should.
What we're going to do is
Sabina?
we are going to stream a game. We should stream a game. This was a really long bunch cast, but it was a fun one, wasn't it? You guys like the longer podcasty formats, or do you just like it when we're like, this is the subject, and then we just move on like it's a video? I think we should be more. I think I'm not going to ask for opinion. I think I know what I want. I think I want us to talk about random stuff. Because podcasts should be like that. You shouldn't really stay on subject all the time. You should meander a bit because you might find something fun to talk about. You know? Yeah, you agree with me. Deletes that comment. No, I'm kidding. I didn't see one yet that disagree with me, but I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna censor you, boy. I'm gonna fucking SKG you, boy. Like, no. All right, what do we do? 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 I didn't have a plan for today. That's never good. Well, we can always put it up to poll, can't we, chat? I'll let Chatfish decide. There we go, and there. I put it up to choice, chat. We have Helldivers 2 and Dune Awakening and Kib's Choice, which will be a random game of my choice that you might hate. I'm warning you in advance. I don't know if I'll stream something interesting. I might just click on something that's really boring if you do that one. I'm warning you in advance so that nobody gets mad at me when I click on something like, I don't want to see that Kib. I'm like, oh my god, here we go again.
It's not everyone does, but everyone chooses Kib Choice because they find it funny.
It's a non-paid for game. I'm just warning you in advance, chat. Just saying. You better be ready for what you're opening up. 'Cause I'm not entirely sure what it'll be. It'll probably be something that I think you guys would want, but you haven't funded. I think that's what I'll go for.
That be.
I do think that chat probably wants a break from Dune and Helldivers still because, well, there's no new content for them.
You have a donation from Gangoid.
Thank you for the donation, but this is a poll that cannot be overwritten. Please do
It is
before
something you should
update on
know,
the
though.
11th. Update on 11th. I don't know if we'll be able to get there in time. Tomorrow is what again? Tomorrow is
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday. Wednesday's probably going to be that game that Bino wants to play.
You mean Sly Coop?
Yep, because we need to smash that out of the way while Bino's actually around. So I can smash that away.
And not dead.
Maybe Thursday? Maybe. We'll see. But it's not a dono war, Sand. I've already said it's not a dono war 7 times, damn it. Quit donating. I mean, I like donations, but don't donate for those reasons. And make sure you put it towards a hashtag. You can actually get something on it.
Like different sand game.
Chatfish funded a game called Peak. I don't know if that's related to Ascent. It's about climbing, and they kind of sound the same. So we'll be doing that.
Let's see, Peak.
Oh my god, Plank, you're such a fucking baby.
Oh, that.
I need to make dinner. Or by dinner, I need to make lunch. By lunch, I mean dinner. Good luck at the top. I know. I have an idea of what we'll stream. I know chat was talking about wanting to see it. Somebody did. But it wasn't funded. Nobody donated for it. So I don't think it's going to be played anyways. Make sure to take a overhead to the Killzone outfit, says Master Morty. That's true. Also, Genghis's tags are SFYS and OOP too. Ow, ow, ow. I have food, right? I do. I have that, and I have that. And then I'm out of food, actually. I'm almost out of food. We're gonna need to go to the grocery store tomorrow.
Isn't OOP 2 already funded? Yeah, it's not here, so I'm assuming it's funded.
What? I think it might be. I don't know about that. All right, poll is concluded. Chatfish have chosen. Gibbs choice. Random game. Wise decision.
According to Bino, fucking Bad Rats is a Brazilian masterpiece.
A Brazilian masterpiece? It's a Brazilian game? Oh my god, I fucking knew
Yes.
it. That makes so much sense. It's fucking bad and jank and not redeemable in any fucking way. Brazilian. Oh, that was funded. I can't play that. That's right. Okay, but that wasn't. Yes, that wasn't. And Chatfish did express interest in that once before. Though maybe they didn't? I have no idea. It's a classic. You'll love it. And if you don't, well, shit. Okay, there we go. Now I need to schedule the stream. Go live. Set it up as... It's not going to be Hearts of Iron 4, I swear to God, chat. If I don't...
Turns out it's actually
Hearts
the
of Iron 2.
Fallout mod for Hearts of Iron 4.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not really big on Paradox games anymore. I'm kind of burnt out on them.
Thank God.
Thank God. Shut the fuck up, Squill. I'm going to make you play one.
They're so boring.
Your imagination is what carries those games. And if you don't have an imagination, you wouldn't understand.
I have good imagination.
No, you
It's just
don't.
that those games are spreadsheets.
No.
Very strict spreadsheets.
Oh, start screaming. Okay, I don't have a thumbnail of it. So what's a clickbaity thumbnail I have that I can use as a placeholder?
Grab Armane's tits, put it on. Cover the nips. Yeah.
It's not that as a game, but that thumbnail is so vague and ambiguous, chat would never know what it was. Oh yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Oh yeah. Damn it. The computer shat itself. 1 second. It's like brap. Oh yeah, that thumbnail kind of applicable, kind of, sort of, not really. I mean, it's sad. Little Chatfish going to heaven. We'll call it Kibbs Special Super Squeakrit. Kib Choice Game XD Rare. Yeah, I did that for the title. Okay, and I'm almost done, and we are scheduled. Oh, good. I got worried. Nope, don't fill in the game title, or they'll just see it, and then they'll know, and then they'll be like, and I'm like, shut up. Shut up, little Chatfish. Like, all right, we're not going live in 30 minutes. We'll be live in like 10 minutes. I just need to make food. It's going.
Yeah, I need to get
He's
one.
lying. He's gonna go live in 10 minutes.
So ignore the timer thing. We should be live before then. Just sit there patiently and listen to my dirty lies. Like, what the fuck? As they wither. There we go. Perfection. Don't, said Fallen Brother, as he just dies. Ooh. Alright, perfection, chat. Alright, let's raid into the next stream. We'll see you in there, chat bros. See you soon. Get ready for a secret surprise. And good night, Chatfish. That don't follow us over there, of course. Beep.
Bye.